off.
Gonna get banned. Gonna shut it down. What were you playing anyway?
So StreamYard has this like background music.
Oh, that's just.
And I always play the. And I
was like, this is good. This is really good. Is this on LP? I need this. StreamYard. They know what they're doing.
Well, welcome everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Hold on.
I feel like I'm ready to see, like, where's Jason and Chris? What happened? Okay, it's just a duo tonight.
It's just a duo.
Yeah.
I did, on the down low, I did ask Chris if he wanted to kind of tag team this, but I think he was a little too busy. Hey, so welcome everybody. I am Joel from Static ATX Records, and here tonight I have Dom with me. He is known as Seekingathread.
How you doing?
And he is a prominent member of the VC. He is famously from Ithaca, New York.
Not from, but live.
Or he lives in Ithaca.
Yeah.
I'm quickly going to show his channel. We'll get into it a little bit later, but his channel on YouTube is Seekingathread. You can find it. He has 366 videos, which is pretty substantial. So check him out, and we'll get into it a little bit later. But we're going to start out the interview like I normally do, which is to ask you, where did you grow up?
Not in Ithaca. I grew up in New York. Ithaca is upstate New York. I grew up in Long Island. I grew up in a town that was on the sort of straddled the line of the New York City, the start of New York City and Queens, and Long Island was sort of right on the border of the two. So, yeah, my life was very much being a New York person, but also being a Long Island person, so until I went to college, and then I moved back there briefly for a little while, but then I lived in the city proper, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan for 13, 14 years before moving here.
So have you just been skipping around New York your entire life? Have you ever lived anywhere outside of New York?
No, I spent the summer in London. That's really it. Other than that, I've been in New York.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were a kid, who first introduced you to music?
That's a really good question. I mean, it probably would have been my older brother. I have 4 siblings. It probably would have been one of my older brothers, but I'm kind of the one really who got into music in this way. Like no one else really. My younger brother did to an extent too, but I didn't have like someone who was like really handing me down things and like, check this out. I didn't have that. It was really me sort of finding everything, and radio was really key for me. So that's a big thing for me now too. I love doing radio myself, but listening to the radio was essentially my introduction to music.
Okay. So
my parents were not really music people. I mean, they liked listening to classical radio very, very passively, and they liked talk radio. So yeah, I didn't have that sort of influence from the older people in my life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talk radio is huge in New York. So What radio did you listen to as a kid in New York?
Just all of the different, rock stations. Like Chris mentioned some of these, WNEW, there would be the Hot 97. I grew up listening to that too. There was a station, I'm forgetting the name of it, but they played a little more alternative things, which of course I got into in the 90s. That was a Long Island based station. So yeah, I mean, that was what we had. It was radio, and I didn't have cable. We didn't have cable in my house, so I didn't have MTV. So radio was huge.
Were there any specific DJs you remember? Anything?
Not really. I did a lot of taping off the radio, so it's hard to remember the actual names of the DJs. It's a good question, because the DJs were kind of legendary in their own way. Just their whole vibe and their lingo and just being snappy and everything. I really did get into that. I did like that, but I can't really remember DJs per se.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your earliest memory listening to something like some music?
Earliest, yeah. Sheesh. It's that's a great question too. I mean, I guess the other than the classical music I would hear from my parents. There was no jazz in the house ever. Probably the Doors, I guess. I do remember there being a Doors record sitting around. You know, I remember there being one of those combo players that had like the record player on top and like the dual tape deck and a stereo combined. And I remember there being a Doors record. There was a couple of records in the house, but I never liked the Doors. I've never liked them. I mean, I'm okay with them. I don't have a huge problem with the Doors or anything, but I always found Jim Morrison to be like a bit of a charlatan. But like we had very little music in the house, so it's. I remember Guns N' Roses. I remember that the band cover of Appetite for Destruction. I don't know why I knew about that then. My brothers had that poster. That poster was in our room. I slept with my brothers, and it was like 3 or 4 of us in one room, and that poster was in there. It's like, how is this here? If there was a poster, I have some memory of that. So, yeah, it was. Those are what I can think of, you know. Or I know what it is. I know what it's even earlier.
Okay.
Do you know this record, the Singing Nun? It's a very common record. The white cover. You see it all the time. It's on like is it Nunsuch? I forget, but it's the Singing Nun.
The Singing Nun.
It's a French the French singing nun, and she has this song that has my name in it. So my mom would always sing that song to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a very common record. If I'll have to put the record up there. Oh, there's people in the chat.
People in the chat know about the Singing Nun. Well, you mentioned your brother.
Yeah, sorcery. The Singing Nun. The sister in French is Sœur Sourire, and she had this song Dominique, the first song on the record. Dominique, and my mom would sing that to me. So, you know, that would be that's got to be the earliest memory, because that's in my head as like, you know, a lullaby song or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can feel you on that. Like, I got the same thing. My parents, my mom, you know, they include our names in songs that they sing to us when we were a kid to get us to go to sleep and whatnot. Well, I'm curious about your brother. You mentioned your brother introducing you to music. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I have 2 older brothers, a sister older, and then a younger brother. And the oldest brother, I just remember some of that trashy metal being around, but not in a big way. You know, I sort of got into that stuff just because that's just what was in front of me. You know, at this time, it's like you only knew what you had in front of you. If it was on the radio or there was like tapes or records in the house, that's what I knew. And so, yeah, I just remember I have some recollection of the Doors being around. I have definite memory of the 2 Beatles records, the blue and the red.
Okay.
I didn't even know there were like proper Beatles records. I'm like, oh, it's the Beatles. It's the blue and the red album. Like, I had no clue. Like, I'm like, music was not being like aggressively passed on to me. I had to find it. So it's like we had these few things in the house. There was radio. I was taping songs off the radio, like Paul Simon songs or just whatever like sounded good to me at the time. So, yeah, my older brothers, damn, they kind of screwed me.
Are we talking 80s here?
Yeah. I was born in 78.
Okay, so we're border around the same time. So your older brother was kind of into the whole hair metal thing in the 80s?
Yeah, I guess so. And I definitely was passed on a lot of that crap. Like, you know, but here's the thing. I grew up in a very Catholic household, so that shit was not okay. Yeah. My mom was constantly after us, like, getting into anything that had anything to do with like Satanism. Like, that was the time where like Tipper Gore, like everyone's like going to be a Satanist and like a sinner and it's going to go to hell. Like, that stuff was constantly being discussed in my house.
Yeah.
So, but like obviously that just makes it more interesting, right? It makes it more alluring to you. Yeah. So I got into a little bit of that. I mean, I was listening to Guns N' Roses and Iron Maiden, Motley Crue, like some of that crap, you know, at like 10.
I mean, let's be honest.
10.
When Appetite for Destruction came out, like, if you were our age, you listened to it.
Oh my God.
It was everywhere. I mean,
like again, like you had such few avenues for things. Like I had no one being like, "Hey, have you heard of SST Records, Black Flag? What about Bad Brains?" I didn't have anyone like that. No one. I didn't have like it was only me trying to find these things, and my brothers were they were into like a couple of things, and there was no like older uncle or older friend like Chris talking about his uncle. I think it was last week with you. Like that was so great. Like I wish I had someone who was being like, listen to this, check this out, check this out. No, I was having to find it all myself.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that a little bit later. I wrote some questions around that. What was the first physical piece of music that you ever bought? Or because we're talking when you're young, maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be something you bought, but like something that was yours.
Yeah, the way I remember it, and I'm pretty sure this is accurate, it was Ride the Lightning cassette. It was one of these places, I can't remember if they had records, they must have, but one of these, when tapes were big, that would have been, I didn't buy it when it came out, I would have only been like 6. So this probably was like 1988, I bought that. And it was one of these like places that had cassettes just like all down the walls, like spine out.
Yeah.
And those were cool, man. Like it felt like you were walking into like this secret library or something. But I remember finding that, pulling it out. And I bought Ride the Lightning. And guess what happened with it? What? Taken within like a few days. My mom was like, nope, I don't like the looks of that. Electric chair on the cover, that's out of here. And you know, that just, and I remember like trying to look around the house for it, like constantly, like looking under all the like behind the couches or like wherever. And yeah, it didn't last, you know. And I think I bought Master of Puppets, that got snatched. She's like, oh, I don't like the graveyard and the strings. That doesn't look good. That's not Catholic. That's the Jesus is not gonna, you know, this doesn't fly.
Wow.
So I was constantly fighting that battle.
It's funny. My parents were religious, not super strict, but they were religious. But I remember getting the Prince Diamonds and Pearls tape when I was around that age. And I just got it because it had a cool hologram on the cover. And my parents let me listen to that. I'm sure they had no idea what it was.
Well, that's good. They didn't look into it.
Yeah.
Mine were like, they were so well researched and like, oh no, this is bad. You're going to turn into a Satanist.
And it's funny that you mentioned Metallica with that, because a customer came into the store today, that kid I was telling you about before, and she wanted Metallica, and I showed her I had Ride the Lightning, and her dad looked at it and he goes, you could probably only listen to like one song on this record, and he put it back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a visceral cut. I mean, I just remember being a kid and be like, holy shit, like this is an electric chair? Like, am I supposed to like want to be in the electric chair? Like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
You know, like covers at that time were so visceral to me. Like just thinking about why they chose that. And I ended up getting the Kill 'Em All tape that got snatched, but the hammer on the cover with blood, I'm like, this is scary. I don't like, but you're sort of like still like enamored by it, like, wow, I kind of want to find out what's going on here. Yeah, but I do remember Ride the Lightning being the one, like pulling it out and being like, oh shit, I think I'm going to get this. I'm paying whatever it would have cost at that time. I don't even know.
Yeah. It's kind of wild how we get desensitized to stuff like that as we get older. Because I remember being around that age, and my parents didn't want me to watch MTV, but I would put it on late at night. And I distinctly remember seeing a Bon Jovi record, which at the time seemed to me like the wildest music that there ever could be. And of course, you know, it's Bon Jovi, so.
I'm like, these guys are cool, man. They're really cool. Yeah, I totally felt the same way. I just didn't. Again, I didn't know anything else. Like this is just what I knew. Like I can't imagine now, like learning about like everything.
Absolutely. So, what was your first concert?
The Mighty Mighty Bosstones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking 90s now. How old were you?
I was a little on the older side. It's a long story, kind of, in terms of like this would have been 94. 4. Like I was like 16 at that time. Like I probably should have been going to shows earlier, but like I sort of had a friend problem at that time. That's sort of another story. But my brother, my second oldest brother, he went to Manhattan College up in the Bronx, and at that time I was getting into ska, of course. Okay, ska and ska punk. And he's like, dude, you're never gonna believe who's playing Manhattan College. And sure enough, he's like, you should come. And then I came. My dad came, and
Wait, your strict Catholic dad came to see Mighty
well,
Mighty.
he wanted to see what was going on, and I think at the end of the day, it was like, oh, they're just like these are like Irish obsessed, like drinking. That's fine. Who cares? Like that's
Wow.
as long as there's no like nothing sacrilegious here, it's all good. So me and my dad and my second oldest brother at Manhattan College, so Mighty Mighty Bosstones, and I just thought it was the greatest. So goofy to think about now, but like at the time, I got super into them.
Hey, there was a time when ska was huge. I don't know if I've ever told you, but one of the most fun shows I've ever been to was back in the day seeing the Toasters.
Oh, I saw the Toasters a ton.
Yeah, it was the Toasters, a band called Skinner Box. I don't know if you remember them. They're from New
Long
York.
Island, I think,
Yeah.
or I think they might have been Long Island or New York. There was a band called the Scofflaws from Long Island,
Yeah.
big Long Island band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a local band called the Sidewinders. And I wasn't huge into ska, like I wasn't like shying away from it, but I wasn't huge into them. But I always loved the Toasters, and that show was just really fun. I mean, we're dancing the whole time, and we're having a good time.
I think that was what was a revelation. It's like, oh my god, people are like dancing. This is not just standing around like or slam dancing. They're like trying to have like actually dance. I mean, it's not really very sophisticated dance, but
yeah,
that was interesting to get into, and I got pretty into that stuff, and I realized like what I liked about it was the Jamaican history to it, and that's when I realized like ska was a little gimmicky. That's where I discovered the original ska, of course. The specials, no, but that's what I realized I liked about it. I was like, oh, I love the horns and I love the rhythms, but I like them in this slowed down fashion is what I ended up liking the most, obviously. So
absolutely.
But yeah.
So when did you decide to start picking up an instrument? And normally I would ask you if you have, but because I already know that you have, I'm just asking when. When did it start?
That was late too. My parents, there was a piano in the house, but I didn't get to play that. Like my older siblings took lessons, and by the time it got to me, I think they were like, we don't want to spend time with you learning piano. Like they're not really playing it. We spend all like, I still feel for my parents having 5 kids, like just thinking about like all the different things that each kid requires.
Yeah.
Of course, at that time, we ran free. It's not like now where every kid is so like, sort of watched over and protected. But in any case, no, like piano was around, but I didn't pick it up. I got into the guitar from hearing, the guitar bands, of course. And I don't think I started learning until I was 14, something like that. So pretty late. But it was like hearing like, the punk bands, and when I finally got into like the grunge stuff or the indie stuff, and the Ramones made me realize like, oh, I could absolutely play the shit out of Blitzkrieg Bop. And so I was like, I want to do that. And I remember I took guitar lessons because my parents were like, all right, well, you got to take lessons. And I was like, I don't want to go take lessons, but I did. And I remember like saying to the teacher, I'm like, I want to learn Beat on the Brat. And he was like, what? He's like, yeah, the Ramones. He's like, yeah, I know the song. And he looked at me like sheepishly, like, really? You want me to teach you that? I was like, yeah, I want to learn. And I remember at the board, super bored look in his face as he was just like, and I'm just like, yeah, this is awesome. And at the end of the day, I was like, I can play this song. And he's like, yeah, but you didn't learn anything. And I'm like, who cares? I'm playing the Ramones.
Right on.
Yeah.
And was this on an acoustic guitar, or did you have an electric?
I had an electric. I bought a Japanese Fender Strat. No, it was a Mexican Fender Strat. My parents, one Christmas, I don't remember, but they gifted me that. And I had that for a long time, actually. I sold it, but yeah, so I was learning on that. I learned an acoustic too. I had an acoustic guitar that was really shitty. Oh, it was so shitty. It was one of these things where the action on the strings from the fretboard was a little pretty high. Like it wasn't adjusted properly. Like the tone or the truss rod wasn't adjusted properly. So I was playing all these chords, and when you have to push down that much harder, it's painful. But actually learning that, like, it really sort of made your fingering skills a lot better because you're like having to push down so hard. So playing those bar chords and everything got to be, once I had like the proper setup, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to breeze through this. Like, this is going to be much easier. So I had a really shitty gear to start with, as you should. You shouldn't start with nice gear. So
Yeah. Okay, so you grew up in a household that wasn't super music centric. So when did you start like coming into your own as far as like discovering music? Like what kind of age
it's a
were you
very
at?
similar story to what most people will say at that time, because I was into those hair metal bands. And the way I remember it is, of course, it was Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. Hearing that,
Mm,
the way I remember it is, that was probably, when that came out, when the song was new. And I remember going to in my school, or in my town. Like I said, it was a small town, but it was just basically a suburb of New York, and they were always trying to keep kids out of trouble, like, to have sort of different events that are sort of like sanctioned by local groups or sanctioned by the church. So my parents were like, you should go to this Friday night sort of like hang. I forget what it was, but it was like a church sanctioned. I went to Catholic school growing up. That's the other thing. I had to go to Catholic school. So there was a Friday night thing. It was like at the gymnasium or something. And there was like games and all kinds of stuff. I think I was in 92. I would have been 14. So or it was 91, right? That was 91 where that song hit. So I've been 13, or 13, 14. I forget. Anyway, I can't add. 13. But I remember hearing that song, and it's something switched in me. I remember, like, this is different. And then I noticed, I still remember, I don't remember who this girl was or what her name was. She didn't go to my school. I don't remember. But she was reacting to this song so dramatically. Like, it was like she was like losing her mind hearing it. And I remember seeing that and being like, holy shit, like, this song is something. This song is like changing people. And I heard that, and that sort of like went full force into, at that time I was buying tapes for, as much as I could. I bought that tape, and I bought some of the other stuff that was around at that time. And that was the real entry point into sort of getting into more interesting music. And a little bit later, Sonic Youth was the real gateway, I'd say. But hearing Smells Like Teen Spirit was a very, like, a visceral. That word just keeps coming up to me.
So how did you go? Like, how did you first hear "Smells Like Teen Spirit"? Was MTV, radio, or
It was
someone
that. It was that. It was that
all of it?
teen night. So it was because
Oh, the teen night.
they were playing like local. They were playing like songs from the radio, and who even knows? Like, yeah, I don't remember there being a DJ. I don't know. The song was on, and I heard it, and then it was like started to be everywhere.
So you went out and got the tape. Were you a kid that had like? Did you have a Walkman? Walk around with headphones on? Or
yeah, I did. Yeah, I used to listen to it on the bus, taking the bus to school. For sure, a lot of tapes.
So you said Nirvana was kind of like a gateway.
Yeah.
What did it lead to first?
Well, at that time, Columbia House was a thing, so I didn't get CDs until later. But yeah, I got the
Ten tapes for a penny.
Yeah. Oh, I have famous stories about opening all sorts of like false accounts with with Columbia House, and I remember Versus, getting that, Soundgarden. I did not like Alice in Chains. Just didn't get into them. I don't know why. Didn't care for them. But essentially from there, it was like trying out anything that looked interesting with this, because it was like stamps. You picked up the stamp and you put it on the card. I remember getting like 4 Non Blondes and the Breeders, and Counting Crows. I fucking loved the Counting Crows tape. I loved that album at the time. I really liked it.
Yeah.
And Dinosaur Jr. I picked that out. Like those tapes being in Columbia House, they must have got a lot of kids into those specific records because I mean, so many people were buying Columbia House.
Yeah.
And Pearl Jam too. I think I mentioned.
Okay.
I only remember like a handful. It's funny.
Yeah, I did the whole the midnight release. We're talking about midnight release. I did the midnight release for Versus. I was there at my local store picking up because you didn't. I guess you were not watching MTV at all. I was a very MTV centric.
No, I didn't have it.
Yeah, I was very MTV centric, and if you were, then you would remember Pearl Jam playing the MTV Video Music Awards right before Versus came out. So they played Animal on the MTV Video Music Awards, and they were by far and away the most amazing thing that year. So everyone was chomping at the bit to get Versus because we wanted to hear what Pearl Jam was going to do next.
I don't remember buying that day of. Like that's the other thing. We should talk. I mean, I'm sure we mentioned like the idea of record stores, but I was really just. I didn't even know record stores existed. I was just like, Columbia House on the radio. Like there's this tape store that I went to. Like it was all very like closed. Like I didn't have someone being like, we got to go here. Like I was in New York. I had no idea. Like I was so, there's like a whole other, like I was doing a lot of other things too. Like I grew up as a big sports family. So I was playing like every sport. So I was involved with a lot of that too. So like, yeah, like music was huge for me, but like I was spending a lot of time doing that too. Like I played high school soccer, high school ice hockey. So I was like, and then basketball, I played baseball. Like we were doing a lot of other things. So there was a ton of stuff I just had no idea about when it came to acquiring music.
I gotcha. So lots of sports and ripping off BMG and Columbia House. I gotcha.
Oh yeah. I had multiple accounts and they tried to collect, because you don't remember how it was. Like you get those 12 free or whatever, 10 or 12 free, and then you'd have to buy them at full price, which would end up being like, oh God, it was like $25 or something.
Yeah, like they were inflated prices, gonna make it back up again.
And you just never bought them. And I remember the story I remember is I had 3 accounts made out to different names that all came to my house, my parents' house. And one day they called to try to collect like a what do you call it? A collector. When it goes to collection agency. And my dad answered the phone, and I'll never forget it. He's like, who are you calling for? And they were like, and I was just standing there like, oh shit, like the jig's up. My dad's going to be so pissed. And he's like, what? It's like, this kid's a minor. Don't call again. And he hung up the phone on them. And that was it.
Yeah. They really had no recourse. I mean, there's nothing they could do.
No. And I'm sure that's a common story. My dad was the hero that day.
So when did you? So right now you're mainly seeing the stuff that's on the surface, kind of what's in the mainstream. When did you start learning that there was another layer? Like, when did you first like learn about SST or whatever the entryway was to finding there was something beyond what you heard maybe on the radio?
I mean, it was around that time. I mean, Sonic Youth, as I mentioned, I only listened to Dirty. I listened to Dirty constantly. I had that tape and played it like every day. But I didn't know about any of their other records. Like I was just like, okay, Sonic Youth, I have Dirty. Great. Like I'm listening to that. That's all there is. And one day it was actually at my first job. Second job technically, but I was working at a grocery store, and an older guy, like a guy like 4 years older than me, he's like asking me what music I like, and I was telling him about Sonic Youth, and he's like, have you ever heard Daydream Nation? I'm like, no. And he's like, what? Like, why don't you know Daydream Nation? I'm like, I know Dirty. That's what I have. And he took me after work to what would have been The Wall, or I think it was The Wall, which would have become like, later those would turn into FYEs and whatever, Music Land or whatever, and he specifically was like, here it is, you need to get this. And that was the one time I could say like someone was like really handpicked something for me. And that one blew me away. That one really, like hearing Teenage Riot, I was like, holy shit, this is it. And so from there, Pavement, I found Pavement soon after that. And I have very, very like specific memories of lying on my bed and listening to Slanted and Enchanted, but like it would have already come out at that point, so I heard it after.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to that record and being like, oh, this is again like what I talk about with the Ramones. Like these guys like can't really play, or they can, but it's like so sloppy, and I love it. I love how like it's not so like fussied over. And yeah, from there, I don't, I started going to Tower Records probably around that time before I went away to college.
So you're still you're in New York City proper.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I went to high school in Queens, and Catholic school in Queens.
So when was your first record store experience?
If not the Tower Records, there was one store I went to once. That was probably when I was like 17, 18. Probably when I was like a senior in high school. Pretty late, like I said. I didn't even know like record stores really were. I was just like what I saw, I just didn't have a good outlet to sort of find things in my mind, or I was just distracted, or who knows. But it was either Tower Records or a local store that I think was called Breakaway Records, like in Austin, in Queens on Bell Boulevard. I remember going there. I remember being like, "Oh, this is interesting," because they had records then, and there was like I remember seeing records on the wall and stuff. Like, holy shit, records! Look at this! Like, and a lot of CDs. But later, Tower Records, like the Tower Records in Carl Place, Long Island, I spent a lot of time going there, and I was always just blown away by just the emporium of CDs, because I was at that point buying CDs. So, yeah, probably 17, 18, right before I went to college, and then even in college too.
Okay. So, and did you mention you were recording? Did you record songs off the radio? Do the whole mixtape thing?
Oh yeah, definitely. I wish I still had some of those, because I think Chris talked about it. Yeah, like getting pieces of the commercials, or like part of what the DJ was saying. Okay, and then that was like, and that became like part of the way you heard the song. Yeah. I remember having Funky Cold Medina on a tape. I love that song. And I remember that being on one of the tapes I recorded off the radio, and I remember that just like very specifically in that setting.
Being from New York, what about the Jerky Boys?
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good question. I had one of the bootleg tapes at some point when I was in high school. Somebody passed it along to me, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
It sounded like shit, but it was like a tape of a tape of a. It was like a, 20th generation. It was before it was a CD. Whenever it was like something so legendary and mythological about it.
Yeah,
like
there was something like New York have you being there, growing up in New York. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that your parents kind of sheltered you from all that, because New York, New York Jerky Boys were huge in New York. They were also kind of huge in New Jersey, but outside of that, I'm not really sure like how much penetration they really got. But just in general, the talk radio, because Jerky Boys came out of the radio. A lot of people, who only knew about them later don't realize they came out of radio. But there was a lot of stuff that came out of New York radio.
Because you were living there for a while, right, or in Jersey?
Yeah. So when you were in New York, high school years, I was in New Jersey.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I moved to New Jersey the summer before my freshman year in high school. So you would have been, if you were 78, you might have been 1 year. What year did you graduate high school? Was it 96?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So you would have been 1 year older than me, or one grade older.
Yeah.
So yeah, we probably could have run into each other.
If I was really going to shows, I really wasn't going to much of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have any friends that really were into this stuff. Like, not really.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. So when was this all throughout high school as well, that you didn't really have like music related friends, or not music related friends, but like, so you were mainly in high school, you were relating to your fellow. It's going to sound so stupid, like your fellow kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Just through the sports you were playing, not necessarily through the music.
Yeah.
So you
I
were kind of
had, yeah, like towards the end of my 8th grade, I had some friends that were into music. And then once I went to high school in Queens, it was like whole new, I didn't know anyone. And I was playing soccer mostly. And yeah, none of those kids really cared, or they were, I don't know. That's not how I remember it. I didn't find, like, I was just me. Like, I had no one to talk about music. There was like one kid, maybe a little bit. I remember talking about Weezer quite a bit in high school. I loved the Weezer album. By the time I got to be a senior, I don't know why it took me forever, but I finally found a good like 3, 4, 5 people that were like actually into this stuff. But it was only a year, and then I went away to college. So like I missed out on a lot of that, a lot of good experience. Like I missed out on seeing a lot of these bands at that time.
Yeah. So where did you go to college at?
I went to college in a state school, SUNY state school up here in Oswego. It was called, sort of very small little liberal arts college, like not too far from Toronto, Rochester, sort of on the Lake Ontario. Shitty town, just a shitty town, college town. I made great friends there, though. I found my people pretty quick, but it was not a good town for music. This is like, jam band city. Like people are into that stuff. A lot of Grateful Dead, tons of Grateful Dead. I never liked the Dead, so it didn't work for me. But the people I found also didn't like the Grateful Dead, so there was a lot of. It was easy to find your people in a school like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, what were you studying in school?
I was a split music major and a communications major. Ooh, communications. that really was a fine choice. So
what were you trying to do with the music major?
I didn't know, honestly. I didn't really think that one through enough. I just wanted to study it, which I did, and I did pretty well. I thought maybe I would get into recording, just being a musician, music business, which I eventually did get into. But I just loved playing instruments. I learned to play piano and alto sax in college, and as well as guitar. And it was just like, oh, I had time, I thought, to do a double major. So, I figured, well, whatever, the broadcasting thing doesn't, because I was a communications broadcasting specific. It was like, not the moneymaker for sure. I'm like, well, I should just do music too, because broadcasting communications is easy. And I really care. I really love playing music. So I did that.
So you weren't in band in high school.
No, that's
so college was your first time getting into band. When you're a music major, was there like a band like they do in high school, like a jazz band or something?
Yeah, I played in the jazz band for guitar, and then I played the saxophone in the concert band. I wish I played in high school and elementary. My elementary school sucked; it didn't have any music program, and my high school didn't either. It was a Catholic school, or if they did, I didn't even know about it. I don't know. I don't think they really did. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I say to my kids now, who are both playing in music programs since they were really young. Like, you guys have a really great program here. This is awesome. Like, I wish I had that, but I loved it in college. I really did. I loved performing and studying theory and all that stuff.
Were you still doing? Were you doing any sports in college?
No, nope. I played recreationally. There was a club hockey team there for a while. I played on that for like a year, and that was it. No.
So was that a conscious choice that you made in the transition to college to kind of, switch from a sports centric to music centric?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't good enough to get any kind of scholarship, and this was like a D3 school, so I didn't really push to try to make that sort of avenue earlier. So I realized when I went to college, like, I'd just play for fun, whatever recreational sort of like teams there might have been. And I was like, I'd just use it as a time to actually like get much more deeper into music, which I did.
So in what ways did you get deeper into music in college?
Yeah, just getting involved. Yeah, just college radio was the big thing, which I didn't do till maybe the second year, but college radio and then just meeting random people who were like, oh, like I never listened to Bob Dylan until I was like 19, 20. I was like, I knew who he was. But I
Yeah.
was like, what do I care about Bob Dylan? Like, that's got nothing to do with the scofflaws, like that's got nothing to do with the Boss Tones. Because I was at that point, it was like, I like this. Like, I like some of this indie rock stuff and I like the ska stuff, and that's what I like. And then at some point you
Okay.
realize, like, oh, I can like all the stuff. I don't have to be so specific. And meeting people and them like showing me certain things, be like, oh, I think this, yeah, I see that. I see why people think Bob Dylan's so great.
I want to get into the radio thing, but part of me is like really fascinated because by the time you were in college, the ska thing was kind of over.
Definitely.
But you kept it going. Like you were just really into it. You're just like,
Oh,
I'm seeing this out.
yeah. I mean, Sublime, or as I call them, Sublime. That was a big one too. I was
Yeah.
obsessed with Sublime, and I just thought they were the greatest because they had all these different styles, and I just thought they were great. And I got into them right
Well, they
before
are
they.
great.
I mean, now I listen to it nostalgically, and I'm like, this some bad lyrics here, but I got into them right before they got big, and so I thought that was like, oh, I knew about these guys like before what I got and all that, and I thought of that as like a sort of like I was like sort of like proud of that I knew who they were.
Okay.
And
I mean, you
this,
were in New York, so like, I mean, that was kind of like the epicenter of ska. I mean, because they had Moon Ska and like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
I went to that store too a bunch of times.
yeah, cool. So let's talk about college a little bit. So when you got involved with college radio, was that as a DJ or were you like behind the scenes?
It was DJ first, and like, man, doing a DJ shift on college radio when you're new, they put you at like 4 a.m. or 6 a.m., 2 a.m. That's dark, literally. Like you're just, but at the time you're like, think it's the greatest thing. You're like, I'm broadcasting, and this station only went to like the campus and into the little town. Like no one was listening, and I mean nobody was listening. Even in the prime
Yeah.
time shifts, there was probably no one listening. Maybe if you started to get a little bit of a following, people would find you, but it was not a town that was like very forgiving for this type of thing. Someone playing whatever I was playing at the time. I don't remember some of the things I talked about, but yeah, you start at like 4. I remember my first shift was at 6 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Okay, so the kind of the morning shift, the early morning risers in college,
Oh,
because college kids are known for being early risers. I mean,
oh, well, I wasn't getting up early. We just stayed up all night. That was obviously what we did, drinking and getting into hijinks, and then you go out on the radio when you're all sort of charged up. That's a good recipe. I still have some tapes from me doing some of those shows.
yeah.
Yeah.
Were you just doing it straight, or did you come up with a DJ character or anything?
No, I don't remember a DJ car. I had a friend that was really into radio too, and so we would get into all kinds of stupid shit on the radio. And I was still playing a lot of the ska then. This is like 97, 98. Yeah, 97. I was still into that stuff, but slowly phasing that out. I was getting more into the Jamaican stuff proper at that time too. So,
Okay.
yeah, I started to realize like the ska punk and the more comic book stuff, the more like cheesy stuff was like not good or not for me. Like I found it to be a little cheesy, and I started to look for the more like rootsy or more authentic people who were doing it. So yeah, it was. And then we were playing a bunch of punk too at that time.
Like
Bunch of like the 90s punk bands, Bad Religion, Face to Face.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the ska world kind of collided with the punk world a little bit.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like it sounds to me like you liking ska, kind of discovering the roots of where ska music came from. Was that the first time you had started getting into older music that was older than you?
Yeah, I would say so. I did get into some jazz at that time because I was studying jazz, and I remember doing a whole research paper on Mingus, and so I was getting into that and listening to a lot of the jazz classics. But I still looked at that as like academia almost. I was like, oh yeah, this is cool, um, but starting to appreciate it. But that sort of worked to getting into the original ska, original rock steady, just because there was a lot of horns in that, and I was like, okay, so there's a commonality there. And I just realized right away, like, oh, this is the real shit. This is like, this is where all that modern stuff comes from, and like, that's like some bastardized version of the Scotalites or Prince Buster or whatever. Feels real to me. You know.
Do you still have a lot of those records in your collection?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do. I bought. That's right when I was buying. So that also coincides with my very first record collection, which I've done a video on. That was given to me, or I acquired from my dad's uncle who passed away. I did a whole video on that. It was a really key moment for me for records, for sure. But from that collection, I took jazz, some rock, and yeah, well, that's when I realized, oh, I could have a record collection. And the first records I bought were like Scotalites records, or Don Drummond, Prince Buster. Yeah, some of those.
Cool. We'll take I just want to mention this real quick. So we got more people show up. This is John's channel, Seeking a Thread. This is me. I'm sorting through videos, starting with his oldest. His oldest video is 4 years ago. As you can see, I definitely watched through this whole one where you're talking about Psych Record.
Yeah, that's the first one. That should be 2020.
Yeah,
it might be 5. It's not quite 5, probably. It's like,
yeah.
I think I made that November 2020 November. I made that, I think.
Yeah, you can kind of see young Dom here. Look at that thumbnail.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
So you're here talking. I've actually watched a few more of these, even though YouTube is, because I cleared my cache. I just watched this one, your first one, before the stream, but I've watched a bunch of these.
Yeah,
and I can see that I kind of want to get into, kind of learn when you started to, because I see here you got the raincoats. When I first met you, I saw you on somebody's stream. I can't remember what it was, but I remember you had a Beat Happening shirt on, and I'm big into K records. So when I was my teenage years, I found myself learning about Kill Rock Stars, and eventually I made my way to K records, and so like I'm a fan of Beat Happening and Calvin. So the fact you don't see very many people wearing Beat Happening shirts these days, and in fact I found an original copy of IPU1 in Seattle last time I was there.
Oh, nice.
I was because for a while I was trying to collect all of them, because I didn't buy them when I was a kid. I was like, I'm going to get all of them. And then that's when you realize just how many there are.
There's a ton,
and even though they're not super expensive, it's just finding them all.
Really hard. Yeah, there's not that many of them.
So when did you, so you got the ska thing, and you're kind of tracing things backwards from things like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and you're learning about Pavement. Was that when you started to, did you kind of go backwards at all in any of these other styles?
Into like stuff like from a previous era?
Yeah, like because I can already tell that you're kind of discovering things a little bit late. You're not necessarily discovering some of this stuff when it's brand new.
No,
you're discovering it later. So like SST would have been mostly done for the most part by the time you're in college. They're not completely done, but like all the big stuff would have happened much earlier, and even things like the raincoats and all that. So when do you start getting into like the deeper side of indie rock, besides like the Pavements and the Sonic Youth?
Yeah, I'd say in college, once you're doing college radio consistently, my last year once I was like doing and getting better shifts, I put my name in to try to get the music director job, and I got that job for the college radio station. And so at that point, then I'm taking on tons of music and finding out about things and meeting other DJs. My wife, Angela, I met her as a friend. We were friends for like 2 years. I met her then. She introduced me to a lot of awesome stuff that I didn't know, like Beat Happening. She was way into Beat Happening, and she introduced me to them. She introduced me to Sebado. She introduced me to Guided by Voices. Flaming Lips, even. I remember being like, isn't that the band that was on the Peach Pit in Beverly Hills 90210? She's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you haven't heard the Soft Bulletin? You're an idiot. I'm like, oh, let's hear that. I'm like, holy shit, these guys with the drums, these guys are, this is awesome, you know. So yeah, meeting other people who were DJs and like showing me things, you know, because the problem where I was, we didn't have any record stores in this town. There was one that was so bad that we wouldn't even go there. We had to drive to Syracuse to go to the best record store, which is still there. They moved locations, but it's still there. So I would go there, and I was doing a thing I shouldn't have been doing, which was, as a DJ and then as a music director, you're getting lots of promo CDs. And so I would bring the promo CDs to the store and get credit. And a lot of times I would get credit to get CDs for the station, but then I would also sometimes get stuff for myself, which I shouldn't have been doing. But that's maybe the addict personality started kicking in there for media. And
what do you mean you shouldn't have been doing it? Was it like against the rules to do that?
Well, I was taking promo CDs that were sent to the college radio station, and then selling them back for credit at the record store in Syracuse, and sometimes using that to get CDs for me. So
I gotcha.
Some of it I would get like, oh, we should get this Modest Mouse CD for the station, but then this Red Stars Theory, I think I'm going to get that one. You know, that stuff like that.
I gotcha. So it sounds like you had a big explosion in your college years working for the station. Obviously, you met your future wife there. Yeah. Is there anyone else that stands out that really helped introduce you to a lot of music?
Yeah. I mean, I was like getting into little things like Morphine, like bands like Soul Coughing, like this type of stuff there. Oh, They Might Be Giants I got into, weirdly. That I got into like at the end of high school with a friend that was like our whole relationship, was like we just listened to They Might Be Giants, which did not make sense. Like I just got into all kinds of different things that didn't make sense together. Like at that time I was getting into the Pavements and Sonic Youth, and also They Might Be Giants. I thought they were such great lyricists. And so I had a lot of time listening to that. Violent Femmes, I remember getting into in college. And then, random stuff like Beck, getting deeper into Beck at that time, finding the deeper Beck records, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, Beck's first album was on K. I mean, at this point, everybody knows, but back in the day, people didn't.
No, that was not known. The Stereopathetic Soul Manure, and like no one knew like what the hell that was.
Yeah, that was one of the, like, I remember feeling really cool knowing that, like, okay, you guys think that like Loser is like the first Beck, and it's like, no, I knew about Beck before. I mean, I knew who he was. It's not like I was like, really into his music before, but I was aware of who he was.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. That's how it was for me. But I liked Loser a lot, and I remember feeling like Mellow Gold was like only so. And then I didn't like Odelay.
Really?
No, but I loved Mutations. I remember buying that on tape at the shitty place. That's the only thing I ever bought in the college CD store that was there. They had a tape of Mutations, and I bought that, and I loved it. But Odelay, I didn't. It was okay. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I didn't buy that.
Oh, really? I loved Odelay.
Yeah,
but I'm with you. Like Mellow Gold, to me, it's.
I love Mellow Gold, though. Yeah,
it's a good record, but it's not. I felt like Odelay was like. I thought Odelay was better, or I
don't know. Do you still think it's? Because I listened to it recently, and I didn't feel like it aged that well.
Uh, I don't know. I'm not a good judge of that. I still listen to Odelay.
Okay.
There's only really two Beck records I listen to a lot, and Odelay's one of them. The other one was I can't remember the name. The
Midnight
title.
Vultures.
No, hold on. The one that's like laid back and almost country.
Oh, not Morning Phase. Later.
Let me look. It could be Morning Phase, or it could be that other one that came out right then.
Oh, Sea Change too.
Yeah, Sea Change. Okay, so I like those are the two I listen to: is Odelay and Sea Change.
Yeah, I loved Sea Change. Yeah, I saw that tour with the Flaming Lips when they played together. That was really great. Yeah.
So very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange the way I kind of found things. I should have been finding more, and I should have been finding things earlier, but I just didn't have like these obsessives around me who were like, and this is pre-internet, or just the start of internet. It was just.
Oh,
I was
by the time you're in high school, internet. I mean, it is early. It's still relatively early internet, but there's definitely internet around the time.
No, well, college,
high school. Yeah, your college years.
Yeah, I remember discovering. I remember like the first time I had internet with like the computer labs. You'd go to the computer labs to type papers and get your paper printed out on the line printer. But I remember there was access to the internet, and I remember going on newburycomics.com and trying to order stuff and looking at what they had in their web store. They had like one of the earliest web stores.
Do you remember Gem? GEMM?
Yes, definitely.
That's when I used Gem to find the Tattletale CD. That was like on a small label called St. Francis. And I really wanted that CD, and of course, no stores had it. So I was like, stumbled on the gem.com. Gem.com, if you don't know, if people in the chat don't know, it was like a really early marketplace for I don't think it was all just rare music, but it was a lot of rare.
I don't remember doing a lot of orders through there, but I definitely did. It was mysterious, kind of in a way.
Yeah,
it was sort of like a database, if I remember correctly. It was very primitive looking.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the folks that started Discogs had to have been aware of Gem.
Definitely.
But I did use Gem a few times. It was kind of like an eBay, but they didn't have this. All predated eBay too. eBay wouldn't come out for a few more years.
I was doing eBay early, right when I got my first record collection. I started. My dad introduced me to eBay because my dad had a history of selling. He has his own business that he would do a lot of sales at, and he was always looking for ways to sell things.
Yeah.
And he introduced me to eBay. And so I got early records on there that I still have for, like the first Descendants album, the original pressing. I got that on eBay for like, $15 or something at the time. I was like, oh my God, I got to pay $15 for this record. This is going to kill me. But I was definitely on the internet around 2000, 99, 2000.
Did you ever get involved in like music message boards or anything music related on the internet besides maybe just doing research?
Not a ton. I think it was more of that kind of thing, just looking up stuff, research. I don't remember being involved in I remember like AOL chat rooms. I remember that as a thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're broke, when you're our age and you're young and you're broke, how you got the internet, similar to what we did with BMG and Columbia House, we would get the AOL disc that gave you like X number of hours of free internet. Yeah. And you just keep using that over and over again to get some free internet.
Well, I would just go to these computer labs at school. That was how I would get to it. And there was limits on how long you could be there. I remember just geeking out, looking up whatever, and people being pissed.
I'm trying to remember, like there was no YouTube.
No.
How were we listening to music on the internet? But I don't think we were, like, unless Winamp. Remember Winamp?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That wasn't on the internet though. Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. Your kind of experience with music. So college was kind of when you started your record collection.
Yeah. Yeah. My collection started summer of '98. When my father's uncle died in Brooklyn, and he he forced me to go and help him clean out this apartment. And I was like, did not want to do that. And I was like, no, Dad, I want to sit home and go to sleep in late. I was home from school for the summer, and he's like, no, you're coming with me. And we went, and it was actually pretty sad because the place had become in sort of disrepair, and his aunt had lived there and she passed, and he kind of let the place sort of get really disgusting. So it was disgusting cleaning out his place. But we cleaned out all of his art. He was an artist. We had all of these canvases and a lot of records. The way I remember it, it had to be maybe 1,000 records at that time, which was a lot for that time. I was like, oh my God, he was actually holding on to these things. And my dad just said, why don't you take the records? Like, you like music. I was like, I don't know. Do I really want to bother with these? Like, I have CDs and I did, and they were disgusting, a lot of them, but I still have like all of the classic rock that I have is from that. And like a lot of the early jazz I have is from that. And I'll never get rid of those because that's very connected to that memory. But from there, then I realized like I really liked playing them, and I figured out a way to get a turntable going, and I brought a turntable to college, and I was a big weirdo with a turntable. I had like 20 records or something, and they were like, "What are you doing? Why are you playing records? Like this is the dumbest thing." It was 98. I came back in the fall. 98. I came back that fall and brought like this little receiver I had and this turntable with little speakers, and I was just playing these classic rock records and some of the jazz, like Jazz at Massey Hall, and some of the early Coltrane and the early Miles records, and everyone just thought I was a weirdo.
Yeah, it would have been unusual to have a record player in the mid to late 90s.
Yeah, that was definitely different.
Yeah.
But I had this one friend who did radio with me who would come over and hang out with me and listen to records. And one of my roommates, who's like still one of my best friends, he liked listening to them. And it became like an unofficial little thing. Like, oh, let's go over to, because this was our first year renting a house outside of dorms. Well, let's go over to like Dom's house, and he's got this record player. Like, let's go see what that's all about. It became like a little bit of a thing, and we would do a lot of drinking and whatnot, staying up late listening to records.
So you had a handful of records, and then you get gifted your uncle's collection, some of which were a little beat up, but they had some classic rock in there.
Yeah.
So what kind of happened? Walk me through like what happened after you left or after you graduated. I assume you graduated college. Not that.
I mean,
what happened?
I mean, I was still mainly buying CDs, but I would get records occasionally. Because at that time, the records were like $10-11 new, if you remember. So it would be, you'd go to, at that point I was going still to Tower Records, and then I would start venturing into Manhattan and going to Kim's Media, Mondo Kim's. It was a big place I went to, and Other Music. And you could buy the record a lot of the time cheaper than the CD, or if they didn't have the CD, buy the record. And so I would get them that way, but I was still buying a lot more CDs at that point. But finally discovering like actual record stores, which was a big revelation, and seeing like a real record store with like employee recommendations and people like saying, "Oh, you should check this out," and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It really even exploded from there, because then I was back in New York and living post college.
And what were you doing? Were you doing something in music?
I was, let's see, that would have been, I lived briefly in Albany trying to help a friend start up an internet startup, .com. That was the .com time. And then I was I was trying to find a job in music. I was trying to find a job in music biz. I was trying to find a job doing like recording work with a guy I met. I was working as a off-track betting clerk. I was taking bets for like from like 2000 to 2003, before I got my job at Warner Music. I was doing that exclusively and playing music with friends, like getting a band going, staying up late, just playing, listening to records and playing in bands. So
was this were you in a band in high school in college?
Briefly I was in a punk band that that was called Shortchanged, and we played a few shows. We
Oh.
played house shows. We played a lot of actually fun house shows. Actually, only that one band though. That was only like 1 year I was actually in a band for I don't know why. Who knows?
So this post college band, while you're in off, you were taking bets. You're
Yeah.
What kind of music was that band?
That band was like indie rock, like sort of like shoegazy indie rock, and I did that band with my brother, my younger brother, who's a drummer, and a friend who was a trio, and we made a CD out of that. Which I'm not completely, I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm not embarrassed by anything, but like, I don't know, listening to it now would be sort of rough, but it was like a good attempt. We made it on our own with like 4-track. Old Tascam 4-track tape recorder, and then we had a guy help us make it sound pretty good. And we released the CD of that, and we actually played around New York a lot from 2002 to 2005, quite a bit. We played with some bands that ended up becoming somewhat known, I guess.
Yeah.
We were putting a lot of time into it, but we were never really that good.
So you were, let me see how I want to word this. Like you're doing all this with the knowledge that you learned when you're at college, like how to record.
Yeah. I would engineer it on our own. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were trying to figure out how you can maybe use that for a job, but you just hadn't. There just wasn't opportunities.
Yeah, I was trying to get involved with the music industry, essentially, was where I was looking towards. And I eventually did. In 2003, I started working for Warner Music on a weird little lead that my wife found. Well, she wasn't my wife then, but she sent me this link or whatever it would have been. Yeah, it would have been a link even. That didn't look like anything. She's like, you should check this out. It sounds like it's music related or music business related. And it turned out to be, working for Warner Music Group.
And what were you doing for them?
I first started just as like a coordinator for WIA. So anything with WIA had to do with record stores. So I got to get into a lot more record stores then. But I was doing merch, as they called it, or merchandising, promotional materials. So setting up advertising, cooperative advertising.
What does that mean? You were going to stores and setting it up?
Well, I worked for the main office, so we were responsible for like organizing all of these materials and organizing money and budgets and giving them to the branches, as they were called, like the regional offices that at that time, before they closed all that stuff. Because I started the music business right like at the tail end of like the heyday, the CDs were dying still and digital music was starting, but it was still a lot of like employees like going to record stores and doing, grassroots marketing, bringing poster flats, like setting up in stores, like getting artists to do, walkthroughs and all this stuff. And so we were always the ones that were like supporting and helping the reps that were going into all these stores. So I would, for the Jet record that was coming out, like I would help sort of like coordinate all the different promotional materials that would go out to record stores, throughout the country.
Okay.
So yeah.
Was that an exciting job for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't really give a shit about meeting some of these people because I was definitely like, I like indie rock and all this is bullshit, but this is a good job. So, every now and then there'd be something cool that would come out and you'd be like, oh, finally something I'm excited about. But I mean, I met all kinds of, major artists because we were at the home office, and the home office was like the home base. That's where all the executives were. So we met like Missy Elliott, T.I., all the big Atlantic artists, you name it. We met them just because they would come through and say hi to everybody. And then you sit down with them for like a lunch when they play their record, and everyone would come in and be like, oh, that's so great. And you have to pretend to like it. You have to really sit there like, yes, this is fucking good. I never really cheesed out that much, but I remember meeting the Darkness when the Darkness was new, and I loved them. I didn't even like the music, but I was like, these guys are so much fun. They were just fun. They came right in and they just were like, they were just screwing with everybody. The president of the company, they were screwing with him and just having fun with it. But you could not like feel like the infectious of their energy, the infection of their, like they were just fun to be around. And then they, you know, they were just really nice guys too. So yeah, I mean, meeting those and going to shows all the time, like it was
And
always a show every night to go to if you wanted to.
Yeah. What year are we thinking? I was saying this was.
I started that in 2003.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's so weird, man. Like, there's so many. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about all these parallels between my life and your life. But I was like, even though I'm a year older than you, like you'd have to shift it. Like I was not working in a record store anymore in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped working in a record store like probably closer to like 2000, 2001. But yeah. Anyway, so because we had reps would come into the store. You know, they tried to talk you into buying, you know, their records.
And
you
they
know,
bring you promo CDs and like, hey, CD, like tossing them around like pancakes. Yeah.
Well, I didn't. Unfortunately, you know, I was the buyer for the country section, the country and folk section, and I would sneak in and and I would put things into the rock order, things that I wanted them to order that they didn't necessarily think about, but they got first dibs on the promo on the CD promos. There was also like a big at the time at Tower Records when I first started there. We could play whatever we wanted over the speakers in the store. We could, you know, we would each pick a CD and put it in there, but people kept you know, basically abusing it. So then they took it away from us and they said, okay, these are the only ones you're allowed to play. And so like there's
radio.
I still remember to this day like the one or two good CDs out of the handful we were allowed to play, and we would just play them over and over and over again. But I always kind of wondered, even because I was still pretty young, I would have been somewhere in the neighborhood of like 19, 20, somewhere.
This was Dallas. You were at Dallas at this time, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, so even though like I was the quote buyer for the country section, like there were so many things about the music business that I didn't know. You know, it's like, yeah, you know, we knew reps came in every once in a while and you talk to us, and I knew like, you know, make sure I got to order a lot of the Garth Brooks or the, you know, whatever. I didn't know. I was not a big person in the country. I just wanted to be a buyer, and that's the only thing they would give me.
Oh, the buyer was the cool job to have, I think. Yeah, definitely. It's funny though. It's like I would be, you know, I was starting this music business, but as I was starting, everyone was like, "Oh man, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was crazy. Like everything's changed now." And I was like, "Oh, but I'm just like excited. I'm getting into this now." Like I always feel like so much of my life I've been like a little bit behind of where like the key point or like the high peak. I was always like sort of like getting into things like on the latter half of stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to make you feel bad, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Every time you mention something, it's like you're just like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 years. Like
I'm a late bloomer, man.
And there's nothing wrong with that, you know.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
So, do you remember anything about like how was Napster and all that like affecting you at WEA? Like, what were they saying about it?
Oh, I mean, everything you can think of. Like just figuring out how to like limit it as much as possible and like watermark CDs and like what new format do we come up with to like make it so that they have to buy the physical thing. And they were trying DVD audio and dual disc. I don't know if you remember dual disc. That had a brief little couple of years where that was a thing. So that was Sony's whole thing. That started with Sony, if I remember correctly. It was always just about like how do we mitigate this disaster that's happening, trying to save face. And but at the same time, there was no digital when I started. There was like they were just starting to have like people that were focused on, you know, Apple Music and like someone who was actually trying to like be a representative for Napster, I guess. Would it have been then? No, it wouldn't have been Napster. Napster, like the legitimate service, came later because they tried to launch. They tried to rebrand it, but no, I was starting just when they were trying to figure out how to work digital and that whole thing into their business.
Those are like the dark years, man. Like kids these days don't realize like we almost lost everything.
Oh yeah.
Like Napster came in and really fucked everything up.
But it was just interesting though because they would kept saying like people aren't buying CDs anymore. Like we're all screwed. But everyone was always worried about losing their job. Like every day, it's like, oh, there's gonna be layoffs. It's gonna be layoffs. But at the same time, they were still selling a lot of CDs. Like, you know, depending on the artist, like we would sell like Tim McGraw, like that shit would sell tons of CDs. Like that was one of the, because we had Curb Records was one of the ones we distributed.
Yeah.
All the country stuff, like that stuff was huge, and depending on where it was. Not so much in New York, but like I said, we were the home office, so we dealt with every region, like filtered down.
Yeah.
I eventually started working at one of the branches where we were focused on just the Northeast, and that's when I started really going into the record stores as a rep.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
So what was that like? So if you were doing that, then that means you were like we were right smack dab in the dark years. So what was it like going as a rep to these stores?
2000, like 3 years later, 2006, I started working for the local New York branch, like they called it, and that was the office that represented the entire Northeast down to like DC, as far west as like maybe Ohio, if I remember correctly. So I was doing a lot of what I did too, but then I started having my own accounts, like that I would actually go into, and I would go into, well, it's kind of convoluted. For a while, I was actually promoted to like a manager role, and then there was like a layoff, and then I got downgraded. I didn't lose my job, but then they made me start going to stores. So for like towards the latter half of my 10 years at Warner Music Group, I was going into stores, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Even going into the FYEs, which were the lamest stores to go into. They were horrible. I didn't like them. Chris, I know, worked. I think Chris was at one of the better FYEs in Connecticut, but I didn't like the store. But they wanted to have reps come in and bring them materials. They always used all the materials you brought them. Where if you went to, Virgin Megastore, you had to pay them to be in a program to do co-op advertising, as they called it. So you want to put up a light box or a foam core that has like a 24 by 24 foam core of Destiny's Child, whoever it was at the time. No, we wouldn't have had Destiny's Child. We had the other, because we dealt with Bad Boy for a while. Yeah, we did. I can't remember the name of that group. That was like the Destiny's Child, like copycat. Anyway.
Oh, that thing for the TV show that.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name. I know who you're talking about.
It had some traction.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the big stores, like in the big locations, you had to pay them to be in a program where they featured your item, they featured your artwork, that you paid for an end cap, and you pay like a few $1,000s per title to be featured, But that was the indie stores and the FYE stores will let you just come in and just make it feature your stuff.
I remember that being really cringy. So when I was at Tower, we had control over the little listening stations that were like in the sections of music.
Yeah.
You could only play like 4 CDs.
Yeah.
But the main listening stations were all off limits. Those were all like bought and paid for.
Yes. And that was a program. Yes.
Yeah. And I remember I actually discovered a few cool things from those paid listening stations, but they also had just complete bullshit that no one was going to buy. And I remember thinking wanting to tell the labels, like, I get it, you want to promote this, but like the Tower Records I worked in was in the neighborhood in Dallas, and I was like, you're not selling, this fucking, I don't know, weird classical thing. Like, no one is going to buy that here. I'm not saying it's not a good record, but it ain't going to sell here. So, like, if you want to sell stuff, you need to figure out,
It's probably because they bought into like a national tower program.
Yeah.
So it just went into everyone. And they're just like, whatever. Yeah. It was weird, though. It was like, on one hand, it was like, there's still a lot of money here and there's still a lot of people working in this industry. But on the other hand, everyone's saying like, dude, you're going to get blown out. You're going to lose your gig. But I was just like, whatever. I mean, I was having fun at that time, going to shows and, just making decent money and just living just in my 20s.
Yeah, I mean, you're finally in the music business, kind of what you wanted.
Yeah.
So how did your time at WIA end?
Yeah, I got I got fired. I got laid off like everybody else. Well, there was always waves of it, and it started like it happened once a year, and then it just happened more frequently. So actually, it feels like it was 10 years. It was less than 10 years. I was only about 8 years. So I lost my job in 2011, I think it was, or 10. Was it 10 even? Yeah, it just was. They just slowly consolidated. At that time, I was a rep going into stores, and I was making like pretty good money as a rep doing that. And I just was an account rep at that time. And I think they just realized like this guy's making more than he should going to the store. But it wasn't just me. It was always like a wave. It was like I was part of like a big group of people that were laid off. But like my mentor, like my friend at the time who was my boss and mentor, really, like he lost his job in the wave right previous to me. And so I was definitely feeling like a little bit of like, but on my own. At that time, they closed the office that we had. So I was working out of the house. I was, a rep, for my house. And I would drive to Connecticut. I would drive to stores in Queens. I would drive to New Jersey a couple of times to see stores. And they realized like this isn't worth what we pay this guy. So the field reps, as they were called, they were slowly getting rid of all those.
I gotcha.
Because like you're spending time going to these stores who are like, they're buying like a handful of CDs of each title. Like it's just not worth it.
Yeah. Plus, at some point, it all pays for itself. Did you have any involvement, or did you know anyone on the A&R side?
Yeah, I would meet those people. Like WIA, though, was a separate company than like Warner Brothers Records and Atlantic Records, which were the two main labels we dealt with, as well as Rhino. Rhino was all on the West Coast, but we dealt with all the Rhino titles, and everyone loved getting Rhino promos, of course. But yeah, I would talk to some of the A&R people sometimes, project managers, as they were called. So what I should have been doing if I really wanted to have a lifelong spot in the music industry was like butting up with some of those people and like probably playing the game a little more, and trying to like look good, but I didn't do that. I was like, I don't really care. Like I started feeling disillusioned with it because you start seeing friends lose their jobs, and it definitely takes a toll on you. But what I did is I had a contingency. I had an insurance plan in place. This is where like the record collecting thing comes in, and I've done a video on this before. Is I took home as much as I could when it came to CDs, records, anything promos.
Mm-hmm.
I did it for 7-8 years constantly. I took as much stuff as I could. Someone would lose their job. Their office would be like, oh, if anyone wants to take anything out of his office, you go in there and just clean out what they had. Like some of the great stereo equipment I had was from people losing their job. And it was like, we got to get it out of here. It's getting thrown out today. So you got to get it out of here. And I would take it. But the big thing was they had this program they just called it the employee ordering program, and used to be able to order any record or CD out of the Warner Music Group catalog, which I don't know, you probably remember, Joel, Alternative Distribution Alliance, ADA.
Mm-hmm.
That Warner Music Group owned that distribution company, and all that distribution company, ADA, distributed like every indie label. So that stuff was technically part of the catalog. We didn't promote that or market that stuff, but it was in the family. So every month you were able to place an employee order for anything in the catalog I'll never forget. It was $2.91 for a CD and $1.67 for a record.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
And you could only do 30 quantity of 30.
30 total or 30 vinyl, 30 CDs?
I think it was 30 titles.
Okay.
So I still have, and actually I have one in my pile here. So
show it. What do you
every month I would max this thing out, and I would like Columbia House. I would say to my friend who I work with, "Hey, can you put in an order for me?"
Yeah, you don't need all your 30, right? Let me use some of your 30.
No, Joel, no one was doing this. Everyone was like, "You're actually ordering from the employee." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." and I just banked all this stuff, like a lot of CDs and a lot of records, like some of my like one of my most valuable indie records I have, my original Dusters, are all from that program. Whereas the Stratosphere is the one everyone loves. You know, this was $1.67.
Right on.
And like you can see, this is what they did to every record. They cut it, right?
Yeah.
And every CD, so you couldn't resell it, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't care. I was like, I'm expanding my collection, and I'm saving and hoarding this shit so I can go to town on eBay when I lose my job.
So you're getting records, you're getting CDs, you're probably getting all kinds of promo stuff.
I remember taking someone lost their job and they had all these records in there, all these promotional records. And I remember taking like 8 copies of Saint Anger, Metallica.
Yeah.
They were all just stacked up in the corner. I'm like, I'll take all those. I remember selling those for a few hundred a pop later. I mean, that's what I did when I lost my job. I'm like, well, I got to fucking earn. That's what I did. I sold all that stuff I stockpiled for years. And I started working in a record store too. And I was getting unemployment. So I was like, I had all sorts of streams. The record store was at that point was just for fun. I was just there to use credit and buy stuff because the unemployment was decent. And then I was selling all the stuff on the side. But, you know, we were living in New York. So we had New York rent to pay. But it was fun. I guess I knew at some point I was going to lose my job. So I just planned for it.
So after Warner, you went and you started working at the record store?
The first store, proper indie store I worked at was Kim's, which had a flagship store on St. Mark's called Mondo Kim's, which got shut down. They used to have like 5 locations, but at that time, 2010, 11, they shut down all the locations and moved to one store on First Avenue, and I started working there.
So this store, was it, because I haven't been to this record store, was it new and used, or like what was kind of the makeup of it?
Mostly, well, so Kim's is famous in New York. It's famous for being a video store. This guy, Mr. Kim, who's a huge collector. It's mostly known, there's a whole documentary about Kim's music.
Okay.
But it's mostly about the video. So it was known as a video rental place in the 80s and 90s, but he also started carrying music. And the one that was on St. Mark's became a pretty famous like music location too for records and CDs. But still they were ordering from distributors like everybody else. So there would be some used. And when I was there, like used collections would come in every day and we would buy used record collections and use DVD and Blu-ray. But the main business was DVD and Blu-ray, but a good 30-40% was records and CDs. So I was helping doing buying and you know, running the counter and buying. That's when I first started learning how to buy collections at that time.
See, this is where you make a huge leap in the catch up, because being in New York, where I was living at the time, the record store, there were used CD stores. There was not really anyone carrying records.
Yeah.
You know, you'd have to go to like a Half Price Books. I remember I had some records, but no one gave a shit about them. Like, it was all about the used CDs at this point. Yeah. And we're still kind of in the dark years, right? So even then, you know, it was starting to be on the decline.
Well, this is definitely the early part of the vinyl resurgence, I'd say, but it was still pretty new. Well, I started working there in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
When the vinyl resurgence started?
I think it was started around 2007 to me. That's when I remember being at Warner Music Group and them starting to talk about, like, you know, you look through the new release catalogs, what's coming, and all of a sudden you start seeing like SKUs for records. I'm like, huh, interesting. I remember like Built to Spill, who was on Warner Brothers. Like, oh wow, Built to Spill is doing their catalog. They got the catalog from Up Records. I guess they're gonna reissue their records. Like, what? We're putting out records now? And everyone was like, whoa, okay, whatever. What? Who cares? No one's gonna care. But you slowly started to see it more. At least that's from a major label standpoint. Like the indies never really stopped. But once the major labels are doing it, that's like when you know that there's like, people talking and they're trying to pick up on that.
Okay. I need to look into that a little bit more later because I don't remember it starting as early as 2007, but you were probably a little closer to it than me because
the first record store day was 2008, and I was pretty heavily involved in that too. I know I've talked about that in videos. I ran a Regina Spektor event at Soundfix Records in Brooklyn, which is long gone now, but she was just starting to get pretty well known. She had released her second album at that point. She had a pretty devoted fan base, and that the store was jammed, and it was they had a pretty decent space for a performance, and she played to a shitload of really enthusiastic people. And I still remember like the 5 titles that they released that day being on the counter that were record store day titles.
Wow.
Which was like Vampire Weekend, REM, Built to Spill was one. Spoon might have been one of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember there being a lot of hype around record store day back then?
No, because no one thought anyone would care. But even the first year, a lot of people turned out, and it was immediately like, oh, we may have something here. The indies finally have something, and they were really modeling it after Comic Book Day, Free Comic Book Day. Yeah. That's how it started. And so, the first year, everyone came out. Like, I remember going to Other Music later on that day, and it was jammed. And I don't even really know, like, Other Music never really didn't have people in their store. That store always did well. But there was all kinds of people around, just outside, just trying to get in there. I don't think people were really coming out for those few records. It was more just to be it was more about going to the store that day and supporting the store, because like it was definitely around the tail end of record stores closing and trying to support the indies.
Yeah. So your experience was probably painted quite heavily by you being in New York and you having the experience. So what do you remember? So you were still working at Warner when Record Store Day started.
Yeah.
What do you remember them saying about Record Store Day?
It was pretty light. It was a pretty small thing. Like, hey, we just want to like give a lot of attention to the indies on this day, and we want to like get if you're a rep, make sure you're at one of your indie stores that day and bring them coffee or bring them, because they would definitely made a bunch of materials. I still have like a Record Store Day tote bag from like 2009. I still have 2 of them. It's an amazing tote bag. It's great. I use it every week anyway for groceries. But they were just at that time. It was the first one was like, let's go to stores. Let's just be there and just show them support on a Saturday. And there was some big events. I think Metallica played at I think it was the first year that Sacramento chain. I'm forgetting the name of it. If it's still around even. And Regina Spektor was like a big fan of record stores, and her management reached out to us and was like, hey, we want to do an event at one of the stores in Brooklyn or in New York. And we were like, we recommended this store, and I ended up being the one that ran it with another guy. The 2 of us ran it.
So the major chains were they still around? And Record Store Day was just a focus on indie stores?
Tower Records?
Yeah.
Tower closed. I think they were gone.
Yeah. So what about in New York? Was Virgin still there? I don't remember.
Virgin was still there. Yeah. I think the Virgin Times Square closed a few years later. But you remember them specifically saying that Record Store Day was a focus on indie stores, but that wasn't just because that's all there was. There were still a couple of bigger stores, but you remember them saying it was a focus on the smaller stores? Yeah, definitely specific, but it wasn't. This was driven by not the major label, not Warner Music. It was driven by these coalitions of indie stores.
Yeah.
Sims and Ames and Music Monitor. They were the ones who came up with this, and so they were really pushing this. And the major labels and the label I work, the company I work for, they always liked to make sure that they took care of those people, because they, even though their bread was buttered by these major records and James Blunt. I got so many stories about stupid James Blunt and the things we had to do for that. I did
Yeah.
a lot of shady stuff around James Blunt. But anyway, the things that they knew that that's the stuff that made, gave everyone a paycheck, but they always had to make sure that they were like, oh, but we love the indie stores. Like, we love them. They're the real passionate fans of music, and they have like the real connections with people. Yeah. So they talk the talk, like we care about these places, but they also knew like we're giving Target all the co-op bucks for the Daddy Kane release. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
And the new TI or whatever it is, or Fat Joe, or Metallica. The few times I worked Metallica records, that was always a big deal.
Yeah. So that was okay. That's how I remember record stores starting. Was that it was very indie focused, but that's just because that's where it was born. So you had the record store day experience from the record store, from the WIA perspective, and then when you're working in the record store, how were the records? How do you remember the record stores reacting when you were working there to record store day?
There was always an element of like, this is a waste of time.
Oh,
like,
really?
We're gonna lose our ass on this. The first one I did as a one working at the stores in 2010, so that would have been like the third year. And I told the owner, like, you need to, like, because even by the third year, they started to really ramp up the exclusives. And I remember the last year I did in job as Warner Music, and we were blown away because that was the next year there was maybe 50 release. It was like a big jump. And I remember us going out to the stores in 2009 and be like, holy shit, people are buying this stuff up. And yeah, maybe they're reselling it, but there's really something here. And I remember like wanting to get a couple things and it was gone. And like me and the guy who we worked with, we were going to stores as reps, but we were also just going to go. Like you just went to the stores, all the indie stores. You wanted them to see that the WIA people came in, the Sony people came in, the Universal people came in. You wanted to show your face. So we did that, and we saw like, oh wow, this is not just a small little blip here. This is really something. Yeah. So the following year, I'm working at the store now, Kim's, and they're announcing all these new exclusives, and the list is bigger at this point. And I told them like, you need to order like 15 of these. You need to order 20 of these. And the other guy I worked with, who was a buyer, he was in a band, a pretty well-known band. I won't say who it is. We got into fights. We got into like actual fight about ordering records for record store day. Yeah. He's like, do not order any of this shit. No one's going to buy it. He actually tried to cancel my orders with the distributor. But the owner, Mr. Kim, he was always about, let's try it. He's like, I have money. Let's try it. I'm like, I'm telling you, this stuff it's going to kill. Like,
what do you remember? Do you remember the titles?
The third year, I don't know. I'm sure we can look it up. 2010 RSD. But I was also kind of nervous because I was really putting my ass on the line in a way. Because it was still new. And unless you were like involved early on, you might not have known. And so I really pushed to order a lot of this stuff. And I'll never forget, I actually didn't work on that day. I can't remember why I didn't work that day. And we ordered all the stuff. The owner ultimately backed me. And the guy that I got into a fight with was so pissed that the stuff was selling. He actually knocked over an end cap. He actually like threw a hissy fit in the store. I heard from another guy who worked there, like just like laughing. He's like, you wouldn't believe how badly this dude flipped out. Like, and I felt like vindicated. It was like, okay, like I'm not full of shit. I was right about it. But I mean, they spent a lot of money on this stuff, and that was 2010 even. Now it's a whole nother story, but it was I enjoyed it. I mean, I loved it. And then, being in stores after, and there was a year or two where I did flipping in between jobs. I went and bought stuff to flip. I definitely did that. So I've done a little bit of everything.
You hear that? You heard it here first. We're clipping that shit.
Oh, I've talked
Dom
about
is a
that.
record store day flipper.
I did it for sure. I did it at a store where the guy literally was pissed at me. He was like, "This is all for you, right?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go play it all today."
So, what do you remember the rules being as far as like employees and record store day? Were they allowed to buy things?
Yeah, well, when I was flipping, I was not. I was not at the store at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, I stopped working at it. That's another story. I started working for a different indie store, and
Okay.
yeah, I have to remember where the hell I was, but um, yeah, you were allowed to buy stuff at cost essentially at that store Kim's where I was, you know, which was
Wow.
pretty sweet, but not the RSD stuff if I remember correctly, at least that year, or maybe you could. I can't quite remember. I don't think again people didn't really care that much. Um,
Yeah.
but I definitely did some years where I was online and just trying to. I mean, I hustled. You know, once I got laid off from that job, I hustled for years,
You talking about
essentially.
Wii?
Yeah, I worked at record stores, which didn't pay very well, and I hustled. I sold as much as I could on the side.
Right on. Mostly on eBay.
All eBay. Yeah, I did find Discogs kind of early, but a lot of eBay at that time.
Yeah, dude. Like early days of eBay was great. Like
Yeah,
it's not anything like it is today.
no,
Um,
no,
yeah, even and it's kind of funny. The early days of Discogs wasn't great.
no.
Discogs is better today than it was back then. I know a lot of people like to bitch and moan about it now, but it's a lot better than what it used to be.
Yeah,
Um, and maybe not as far as pricing goes, but like I'm just talking about like the functionality of the site. Whereas I think eBay used to be better than it is today. Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
eBay
But
was
this
way
kind of
more fun. Yeah,
yeah, this kind of explains why for those watching the video, Dom and I like to talk about like record store, behind the scenes
yeah,
things, and now it makes sense why you're so interested in because you kind of saw a lot of it, you kind of experienced a lot of it.
yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, we both have that nerdery aspect about that, I
yeah,
suppose.
yeah, and I only experienced record store day as a customer. I was never working in a record store when record store day was around. So I was waiting in lines and stuff. But it's really, I was there the first year of record store day, but I don't remember anything about it. But it's kind of interesting. But I wish someone, I don't know if something like this exists, but I would love to see like a documentary about like the behind the scenes of how it started with the coalitions and whatnot, because people don't realize the coalition still exists. Like there's
Yeah,
all the big indie stores. There's like a handful, two or three, maybe of coalition, at least two. There may be three, I don't know. But all the big indie stores belong to these coalitions, and they all help each other out. And there's things about it that I don't know. I kind of pick up a little things here and there, but I'm kind of fascinated by it.
I don't know what they're like now. At the time I dealt with them, it was like they would ask for money for like the indie centric titles that they could sell at their chain of the coalition of chain stores. And that's the
Yeah,
other thing is like these are indies. These aren't like indie stores like Superior Elevation in Brooklyn or like a lot of the indie stores now. These are like almost the old school indie stores, the ones that were around in the 90s and 2000s or even 80s. Like Looney
yeah,
Tunes in Long Island is a big one. I think Amoeba or I think Waterloo is part of one of them,
yeah.
for sure.
Here,
But so
Waterloo's one, End of an Ear's part of one. It's part of different ones, but they're
yeah,
each part of one.
the idea was to get together with the other stores and it's like collectively we can like garner some of this ad money or like promotional things or like stuff that they're giving to the bigger retailers. We can collectively get some of that pie too if we team together.
Yeah, they still do the whole Ames Rock thing. Like every week, they have the Ames Rock, which is like I don't know how they pick these, but they pick a select of the new releases, and they do a little graphic, and then the Ames stores they all share it on their social media.
Yeah,
And I always wonder because some of the stuff they pick to show is not that good. They have some good stuff, and then they got some questionable stuff in there. Um, but I've always kind of wondered like what kind of support they get on the back end. Like anyway, it doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah.
So that's all kind of fascinating. So amongst all this is how you're building up the collection. So,
Yeah,
um,
discovering things. Yeah.
so let's kind of get into talk to me a little bit about your journey of like how do you start getting into some of the more eclectic things that you're collecting these days? Like what was
Um,
the
yeah, I think just slowly over time, working at these stores, I worked at that Kim's store for a couple of years. I worked at this other store, another Permanent Records that was in Brooklyn, unrelated to the Permanent Records that Lance runs. That Permanent Records is pretty much gone, I think. But I worked there, just experience of being there for multiple years and finding things. When we moved up here to Ithaca, I started working at the record store here within 6 months, and that ended up being way better in terms of like discovering deeper stuff than anywhere else because the owner George is like a nut. I mean, he's awesome, but he was into such a serious deep level of things that it opened my mind to all kinds of things. And one of the other guys there was from England, and he lived here. He introduced me to all kinds of stuff, and just seeing the new things that come out. The more you see new things that come out, it leads you to other things, leads you to investigate further to older stuff. So
what's
I
the
think
name of
it's
the
just
store?
Anger Mom Records.
Anchor Mom. Okay.
Yeah. So I worked there from. Yeah, I did a video about that too, from 2014 to last year. Yeah, part time, a lot of it, a little bit of full time. For a while, it was full time, but part time, while still selling things on the side for many years. And I started working for Cornell 4 years ago, and so I slowly downscaled or slowly phased out working at the record store. But
And what are you doing at Cornell?
I work in IT for the architecture and city planning school. So it's like a local IT where we sort of just help out those students in that school because they have they're very needy. They have needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so in your earliest videos, you talked about doing your show at WRFI. That's the one that's the community radio station you still do your show at, right? So you've been
Yeah.
doing it for many years.
I
How did that?
started that. Yeah. Well, we picked Ithaca. I mean, we wanted to leave New York because we wanted to buy a home and start a family. We had our son in Manhattan, so we had our son at that point for 2 years. But we just realized like New York was getting too difficult to live in, and I still didn't have a viable job. Like I was taking care of my son and selling records on the side, working at record stores, not going to go very well. I wanted to leave. We both wanted to leave. It took us a few years to find the right thing. And I have a cousin here, and I started talking with him, and we visited, and we decided to move here. And within a few days, like one of the reasons I picked it here is because it's a very progressive place. It's a pretty active, like bunch of weirdos here, and it's very it's definitely like a lot of hippie, like annoying hippie type things here too. But it's beautiful here, and there's like there's like one of like everything you need, just like there's enough of a small version of New York here that made it satisfying enough for us to decide to live here. And so there's still only one record store here, and there's still this community radio station here, and I got involved with them like within a month after being here. Because I did college radio, and I had been meaning to get back into radio since leaving college, and so I looked up the station and just started talking with them, and before you know it, I had a show. So yeah, it's in a smaller town. You have access so much quicker. Like everything's much quicker and easier to do. There's a smaller infrastructure around these things, and it's just easier to get involved.
So what kind of feedback because you've now been doing the show for almost 5 years? How many like what kind of feedback do you get from the community?
Well, I've been doing the show for 12 years.
Oh, 12. Oh, so okay.
Yeah, I took a break for about 6 months, and I changed the name of the show, but 12 years total. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So same
Um,
question. What kind of impact have you had?
I mean, pretty like it's always surprising that you walk around town and hear people that are listening, and I get a lot of promotional emails now. It's not like I get promotional. I have to ask for promotional records or CDs, but I usually don't get them. Sometimes I do, but I get a lot of. Because I podcast it. I send it out as a podcast and stream, and so a lot of people have picked up on it through that. So I have a decent amount of followers, I think, who listen to just the show. If you do something for long enough, at some point you start to slowly gain an audience, I guess. But on a given day, doing a show like I did one today, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't get phone calls too often. A lot of times, if I do, it's from a tweaker or like someone who's like, asking me to play like Medeski Martin at Wood or something like that. I don't know. So it's really, you're doing it for yourself at the end of the day. But it's fun to just be in a room for 2 hours and just play tracks off your records,
Absolutely. So I just want to make sure we get this down for the record. So you do the weekly show on the radio, and you've turned it into a podcast that you then save it, and it's out there on all the main. What are the main ways people can find if they want to listen?
It's called Threading the Needle. It's most like it used to be called Searching for a Thread, similar to this moniker, but I changed it. At 400 episodes, I decided to change it, and I actually was going to stop, but I decided to come back and with a new name, which is not that different. But so if you search Threading the Needle Radio, you should be able to find it. It comes up from Apple for sure, and Mixcloud is where a lot of radio shows are posted. Spotify won't let me put it up. I tried going through all these because I play copyrighted music is the problem. Spotify won't let you do it. There's a way around it, but I didn't feel like putting in the time to figure it out. So,
I gotcha. So I posted the link to the Podmatic.
Yeah, that's right.
Podomatic.
That's who hosts it, and then they sort of dispatch it everywhere else.
I'm seeing right now. I'm checking if my podcast provider that I use. Sorry, they separated it here.
Yeah, I just saw a comment. Mark Boyd. Yeah, permanent in Greenpoint. I worked there for a little while until I got into a conflict with the owner.
Okay. So I'm going to do a quick time check. How you feeling? I know it's like...
yeah, how long has it been? Oh, wow. We're almost at 2 hours already.
Yeah, we're at 1 a.m. of your time. Are you good to keep going for a little bit?
I could do a little more. Yeah.
Okay. So you did the radio show, turned it into a podcast. Where was your entry point to the VC? And, kind of talk through that. And then when you decided to start your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I started watching videos many years before I even started doing my own. It was, so I probably started seeing videos in 2016, 17. It was mainly Derek Higgins, like a lot of people, and Fred, Big Star 1000, them two for sure. But I didn't really think much of it. I'm like, I didn't like focus on it too much. Like every now and then, a couple times a week, I'd watch something, but didn't think too much of it. And then, the pandemic, like a lot of people, I started doing a channel, which is still up. Before I did this channel, I started doing a channel with my son. And we were listening to every single Neil Young record. And we did a show. We did a video for each album. And it's kind of amazing because we started that in 2020, like about 6 months before I started my own channel. And it's amazing to see those videos now because he's grown up. He was 9, and now he's 14. So it's pretty mind blowing to go back and watch those videos if I do and see how he's changed. But yeah, we would do a new video every day because we were home with my kids and, so it started that way.
Channel?
That's called Quarantine Hearts.
Quarantine Hearts.
So you can see a review of every Neil Young record that we listened to. I mean, he was so into it. He was really driving that, and we still do it. We don't do it very often, but we're doing the Sonic Youth records right now because he chose that. after we did Neil Young, we did we did the Velvet Underground. I convinced him that we should do those. That's a short one, and then he chose Sonic Youth, I think, to go through.
If anybody wants to know why I was inspired to do this interview series, it's stuff like this. How in the world have I known you for like several months now, and I never knew you did this? You had this other channel.
Well, this channel, no one, there's like no subs on it. Yeah, there's only there's only a few, but we were getting a lot of good responses to the videos. They're pretty silly a lot of times. There's even one where I'm wearing like a tutu in one or something. He made me wear a tutu on my head because I was wrong about something, and he remembers everything.
I see. You have one where you're wearing. You got it around your neck.
Oh, you found that? Oh, wow, there it is. So, yeah, the take on Landing on Water was that wasn't our least favorite record. Our least favorite Neil Young record, I think, collectively, was 1987's Life with Crazy Horse. Absolutely horrible. Couldn't get through it. Landing on Water has one good song on it anyway, but the first song. We had a lot of fun doing that though, but he was really the driving force. And now when we do a new Sonic Youth one, he edits everything and he responds to the comments when there's comments. But he's not pushing it like he used to. Like he was making sure we did it every day. And there was a video every day for the Neil Young record. So
that's awesome. This is 5 years ago.
Yeah. They're pretty good. And we would do a thing. We would rate them like Shakies, because that's his nickname. So, we'd go from 1 to 10 Shakies, which was his concept. Yeah, we would get into it.
What would I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but what did he ever pick a favorite?
Yeah, we did our favorite at the end. I actually don't remember what his favorite was. I think it was After the Gold Rush.
Okay.
Mine was always Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere, but
yeah,
I mean
that's closer to mine than After the Gold Rush.
Yeah,
the production on After the Gold Rush always bothered me. Just a
really,
yeah,
too quiet, just too sedate.
Yeah, I can't really describe it. It's just like I really like the songs. I just wish they were just recorded differently. But Everybody Knows There's Nowhere and Comes a Time. Those are two of my favorites of the early stuff. And then I like Harvest Moon and Sleeps with Angels for the later stuff. And I like actually, I don't know. I like all the 90s stuff. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that's cool. I'm gonna have to check out those videos just because.
They're not as like high production value as the current Seekingathread videos, but no, they're good. They're fun. I guess I'm much younger too. Jesus, 5 years can do a lot.
Yeah, one of the questions that I always ask, and I usually ask it later in the interview, but I'll ask it now, is what effect, if any, did having kids have on your taste in music or your relationship with music?
That's a good question. I mean, in some ways, it allowed more time for it. I think just to be present, because a lot of time early on when you're a parent, it's like you're not doing that much. You're kind of just like in a very static situation. It's the same thing every day, especially for me, because I was taking, my wife was a teacher. She's always been working, and when our son was young, like that was the cool thing, is I had a kind of a record store job I could go to, and then work just selling stuff online, so I could have flexibility to be there with him. It was like a drone in a way that was like got to be a little bit tough after a while, but it did leave time for listening, not necessarily always actively in the best way, but you're doing a lot less, and so that was actually good for discovering and absorbing music.
Yeah. But I mean, what has there ever been anything that your son was into that that he discovered on his own that he inspired you to get into, or things that he's listened to that you can't stand?
Well, it's fun. Yeah, now he likes, I don't know what he likes. He likes some of the stuff I like. it's very specific what he does like. Like he really likes Spoon actually.
You
And
said
he
Flume?
what's that?
You said Flume?
No, Spoon.
Oh, Spoon. Okay.
He really likes Spoon. And yeah, no, but what he gets into now, it's like he's into like a lot of video games and like online stuff, and so he listens to all these like, you know, goofy like soundtrack video game stuff like Geometry Dash and Minecraft songs, and he's yeah, he's a weirdo like that. I don't know.
What age is he now?
He's 14.
Oh, okay.
But he plays 3 instruments. He'll be a much better musician than I am. He's got amazing talent. He's really got a great ear for music. So,
He's
but
really
it's I don't know. Like my daughter too. Like there's all this music around, and they're not really investigating it. They're not curious about it. It's just wallpaper to them.
But yeah, because when I was growing up, my parents' record collection was down in the basement. But yours is like right in the. It looks like it's probably like right in the middle of the house. So
It is. Yeah,
you
I don't
let
have
them
a.
touch their. You let them touch your records.
Oh yeah, they have free reign to teach. Like they know how to handle them. I'll say that. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily trust them going through everything, but like they know how to handle them and put them on the turntable. Um, but they've never. I just because it's always been here, it's never been like a novelty. So I've never had a thing. Only once did I get a record when my daughter was like 2. She destroyed this little 45 box that I had, which I still have. That's the only time that ever happened. Like otherwise, it's just been out in the open, and just because it's always here, it's not really a novelty to go through.
So they handle records better than you do because you're pretty infamous in the VC.
Yeah.
I saw the pin comment on your very first video.
Oh, you did. Nice.
I was like, oh, really? Is that the way you handle the record?
Yeah, you get all over there. Records are durable, people. Come on, they'll outlast us all. They're durable. Everyone's just too. Yeah, I all these early comments I got people just being like complete dicks about that. Like there was one I remember doing a funny like a few times in videos I would pretend to drop them.
Yeah.
And or actually drop them on purpose, and just to fuck with people a little bit. Because why not?
So let's talk a little bit just about the your Seekingathread YouTube channel, your and kind of the business side. So you've been doing this almost 5 years. You have looks like 3,500 subscribers. And when I was looking around your channel, I've watched videos, like when you did the ones about Flying Nun and stuff like that. But when I was kind of digging around on your channel today, and looks like you're doing shorts. Like, are you how serious would you say that you take your YouTube channel? Like, are you monetized? Are you trying to like?
I am monetized right now, but I don't really take advantage of it. If you can, I have some money I haven't actually gotten any, but there's a bunch that's collecting somewhere that I have to put in bank account information to get. I actually have some things coming up that I want to do with that. I actually want to do a big campaign of getting off monetization, because I'm tired of being sold shit. I'm tired of watching commercials. I'm tired of capitalism. Like I don't want to play a part in it. So I have some ideas that I'm going to bring to the channel that are going to be very much against that. So,
okay.
Well, yeah, I haven't executed that yet, but yeah, if ask my family, ask my wife what she thinks. She's like, you spend a shitload of time doing that. I'm like, I do. I suppose I do. And I have a lot of other things that are also happening. So I guess I take it pretty seriously. I really like doing videos. I really like constructing them and putting in fun things and putting in stuff from my life. I really get it. I mean, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it sort of because I look at it like this is my personal history. Yeah. I like telling a story about myself, even if no one else sees it. I just like seeing what I've done or things that have happened in my life,
Yeah.
Like the stuff with the videos of my son. Like it's really cool to see him at that age, like talking about, on the beach. Like, that's pretty cool to have that. I have that as a memory thanks to silly YouTube, So I do take it, I wouldn't say take it seriously, but I do put a lot of value in it. But I also put the thing I put the most value in is like meeting people that are actually have, because like I said earlier, like I didn't have anyone on the same level as me into music that I could relate to like fully. All the friends I made up until like working in stores or meeting people in the vinyl community were into music, but not at the level that I was at. So
Yeah.
like meeting you or doing the stream with Jason and Chris and meeting like Dave in North Carolina, Alex in California, Chris and Sean, the Vinyl Dreamscape, Stunty, like, and then people in the chat, like just to be able to like then see these people at the record fairs and like talk to them. That's the best thing about doing this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So it looks like, I mean, absolutely. I mean, part of why I got into it. So my best friend in high school, I'm not going to get into like the drama part of it, but he and I kind of bounced music. We'd burn each other. We buy something, we'd burn it, give it to the other guy, and so like a lot of my music discovery kind of because before high school I was also very much on my own, and then my best friend in high school, that's when I had a huge explosion of musical discovery, and then I lost that for a long time, and then
Mm-hmm.
for a very long time, except for when I worked in record stores, and even sometimes when I did work in record stores, like nobody, you don't want to say like on your level, but like no one's doing the music discovery like you are, and so it's kind of more recent when I moved back to Texas that I started meeting some people. But even then, now I've kind of branched out, and now
Yeah.
I'm still learning about things where a lot of my friends kind of froze, and they're just kind of like listening to the same stuff. So it's nice. It's nice meeting people you have, when you have an interest in something to.
And it's easy for that to happen too. Like life things happen, and like all of a sudden you just don't know anything about music all of a sudden, and you're listening to stuff from 15 years ago, which is fine. But it's nowadays there's so much coming at you. Like you take a year off, and you're gonna not know what's going on at all. I mean, thank God for like Stunties does such a good job of navigating what's new and presenting it. Like I definitely don't feel like I do that well. I certainly miss things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of music out there. So I'm looking at your early videos, and you definitely jumped on some streams with a variety of people.
Mm-hmm.
What were your early years like in the quote VC?
Yeah, like Psychedelic was one of my favorite channels, and he's much younger than me. But I got into psychedelic music for sure around 2000, 2001. So another avenue I've gone down, and that was his big focus. And I just loved his attention to the stuff he liked. Seemed to really resonate with me. So my first video was in response to something he did.
Yeah.
So meeting him, and then starting to meet some of the other people I talk with every day. Chris Cole and Brandon and Alex and Dave and Thais out in Colorado. I haven't met all of those people in person yet, but I hope to. And John, Digital Gramophone, I talk with him a lot. Like I said, Dave in North Carolina. And then you guys. I mean, that's a pretty more recent thing, but now we're talking all the time. And early on, though, it was just making those connections with a few people that seemed to be somewhat similar, And I would watch some of the bigger channels too. Like, I enjoy Mazzy. I've met Mazzy. We talk definitely a bunch. I remember Dylan Noble. He shouted out my channel a couple of times pretty early, and that definitely gave me a big boost. That probably really set me on the path of like people being able to find my channel because he talked about it.
Yeah.
But it was just nice to get, like I said, the camaraderie to find people that also like shared that same sort of sick interest in collecting, records and media.
Yeah.
But like the meetups have always been the most fun. That's the most fun.
Meetups with people in the VC.
Yeah, like in a month now, Brandon, another close buddy of mine, is in Buffalo. He's gonna, pick me up, and we're gonna head down to New York and have a whole bunch of shenanigans.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching your videos about you were like not like, I don't know if it was a top 10 list, but you were kind of like showing off some record, like it was, what was it, like inexpensive records or like affordable records you can get,
Yeah, I did a few of those. Yeah.
and you were picking like specific styles and you were kind of talking about them. And then I kind of went back a little bit. I think it was either Groove Seeker or somebody said, "Oh yeah, yeah, if you like that video, like go back a little further." And then I did, and I saw some videos you made about Dove, and
Hmm.
I was like, "Oh, cool." But it can be overwhelming, right? Because when you have like over 300 videos, it's like, okay, I don't have time to watch all of them. So now I'm going by like the thumbnails,
Yeah.
and like if I see you wearing a K shirt or something, I'll be like, "Oh, I want to watch that one." Or if you're talking about Dove or whatever I'm into at the time. I did watch a couple. You had some on Krautrock, and that's like a style of music I don't really know a whole ton about. So I was like, let me
Hmm.
watch these and see what I can pick up on. And I remember thinking, like, wow, dude, like you like, I wondered like how much of that, especially now that these things I'm learning from you in this interview about, the late bloomer and stuff like that. I wonder like when you had time to like pick up all this knowledge of these things you're talking about.
It's yeah, being in the store, being in the record stores, it accelerates it. When you're there every day and absorbing, I don't know, like listening to stuff all day and trying stuff out, and someone, new releases coming in, reissues of obscure things, you know, George Yoner being like, check out this insane record I just got. Like, whoa, what's that all about? Like, there's all these different avenues all converging at once, and so it really speeds up the process of discovery. And yeah, streaming of too. I stream stuff, but I don't actively search out things in a way. Like I'll do use streaming like just for cooking. I like doing it for cooking or cleaning up. I'll put on music and just let it sort of go. Um, but I think the main form of discovery is still just finding the actual record and like talking to someone like yourself and be like, you should listen to this. That's someone who's you trust their taste. That really means something.
Right on. Wow. Okay. So I got completely off track, where I was in the interview process, listening to all this stuff. This is what I was talking about. Like every interview is like a little different because they're a different person. So like a lot of the questions I normally ask, they don't make sense to ask. Um, so something I'm kind of curious about, and I haven't really got from anybody yet. Um, when you listen to music, do you like, are you listening for the musicality, or do you ever like have a really personal relationship? Like, do you listen to lyrics and you like really relate to them? Like
Mm.
the question here is: has there ever been an album like if you were going through a difficult time in life? Has there ever been an album that you really like kind of got you through it, or and if there isn't,
Mm.
like what? Yeah. Anyway, does that inspire anything?
I'm wondering about that. Yeah. I think when I had the most difficult things happen, like personally, it would usually be music that was like very different to what you might think it would be, like some Sad Bastard record, or something really obvious. It wouldn't be that. It would be something that would completely take me out of my whatever state I'm in. Like I remember listening to this King Sunny Ade record, Synchro System, when my wife and I had a tough, almost breakup many years ago, and it just put me into a different state of mind. I was like, this doesn't relate to me in any way, listening to this West African music at the moment, but it is changing this conversation mentally for me.
Oh,
Um, so it wouldn't be like what you might think. I think you know what I mean, or listening to Skip Spence, or a guy like totally making this like mental record about basically losing his mind and feeling like, well, this guy seems to have it all figured out to me. Sounds amazing. This is great. Like, it's transporting me. But that's what I'm looking for, is to be transported, distracted. Distraction is important. That's why I always like working, because if you're working, you're working on something that's taking your mind off whatever the hell is bothering you. So
Absolutely.
yeah. I don't know that I have like one record that is like one of those stands out in that way. Depends on depends on the years that I was where that kind of shit would have been happening.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, if you're looking for music to take you away, it could be all kinds of different records, different times.
Yeah.
Is there any song that you can think of that brings back a specific memory?
Yeah.
Give us an example.
Dominic the Donkey, the Italian Christmas donkey.
What is this? Oh, is this the one you were telling me about before?
It's a different one that also has my name. No, it's this horrible Christmas song by Louis Prima. That's the only. It's a Christmas song, and so I used to have that song just drilled into me by people that I worked with, or shitty friends, or my dad, or I don't know. That's what I think of when I think of. No, there's others. There's much better memories to that.
I was gonna say your first thing was Dominic the Christmas Donkey.
Oh yeah, if you don't know this song, it's a horrible song.
I don't think I know it.
Yeah, horrible. No, so wait, what's the question?
Just if there was a song that kind of brings back a specific memory from the past for you.
Yeah.
No, but you did it. I mean, Dominic, there's your thing right there.
I mean, I do think about a lot of the songs that were like, big when we got married, because we put a lot of music into our whole presentation when we got together. Music was a big part of us getting together. So, I think about, we used the John Fahey track as like a important part of our little ceremony that we had.
Which John Fahey track are you referring to?
As I'm saying this, I'm forgetting the title. It's Sleigh Ho River Blues, I think it is. Sleigh Ho River Blues. And a Zombies song too. This Will Be Our Year. We used to love that song. I think about those come up for a lot. A lot of different.
Did you do a wedding mix CD?
We did do that. Yeah.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, we did. That was like a big thing around that time. I got married 19 years ago.
Right on.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I know I think my sister did a mix CD. I DJ'd my sister's wedding, and I'm not going to get into it now, but I still remember that. It was
not fun.
Well, I had like super cheap equipment. I couldn't do it properly, and I remember because I didn't have like proper equipment, I couldn't quote mix the songs right. So I was literally just like, one song's done, I'm crossfading over. And I remember my dad not really understanding what I was doing, and he was getting real frustrated with me that I was waiting too long to fade the song over. And he's looking at me, he's like, "Go fade it over, turn it." And I'm like, "Dad, chill out. It's like a wedding. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect, and I don't have proper equipment."
Were you playing records at the wedding?
No, it was CD. It was 2 Discmen and a really cheap 2-channel Radio Shack.
Oh man, mixer. Yeah, you're fighting uphill there. I got paid to do one wedding here, the only wedding I've ever done with records too, because about 8 years ago now, it was, I don't know, I don't think it was very good, but they hired me, 2 people, they were like acquaintances. I wouldn't have been invited to the wedding, but like, we're decent friends, I guess.
Yeah.
But she knew I was into records, and she's like, "Hey, we want to have you do records at the wedding." I'm like, "What do you mean do records?" Like,
do records?
Like, do your whole thing. Like, you do a radio show, can you do it at the wedding? I was like, no, I don't know that that's going to work at all. Have you heard my radio show? And she's like, "Well, I know you play like interesting stuff." I'm like, "Yeah. Have you been to a wedding before?" Like, they don't want to hear Steve Reich, they
no, like, hold on while I play some psychic TV.
Yeah. they don't want to hear the Chocolate Watch Band or Count Ossie. They want to hear the regular old bullshit. And she's like, no. This is going to be a cool wedding. Like, we love what you do. Like, everyone's there is going to be cool. They're going to love it. Like, it'll be cool. And they offered to pay me a decent amount of money. It wasn't like great, but I was like, whatever, I'll try it. And so I brought the PA out there to like a place not too far. Records. I worked really hard to like come up with a really good, interesting. Like, I played a lot of like classic soul and classic rock and like, a bunch of like stuff that they would know. But then I started getting into like international music and African things. And at some point you're like seeing how people are like, okay, when are you going to play the hits, the wedding hits?
Yeah.
And the bride and groom, they were really happy. They were like, this is amazing. But then what happens? You have the people that are guests come over and be like, okay, we want to hear YMCA. And I'm like, no, I don't do that. Like, don't you see, look at all the bullshit I have here. Like, don't you see, like I'm not doing that. And then
it's like, go talk to the bride. She's the one who told me to.
And so you just keep playing the thing, and they're being respectful mainly. And I had one success story, and it is the power of this song. And this is what I always tell people: is this song by William Onyeabor. Do you know William Onyeabor?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
He has this song, When the Going is Smooth and Good. And I think there's even like a whole podcast about this song, but I love this song. It's amazing. It's like 12 minutes long. And I put it on, and I'm like, okay, we'll see how everyone reacts to this. And no one knew this song at all. And I swear to God, the whole place started dancing and getting super into it.
Yeah.
Never hearing, and all these people coming to me to ask me what it was. And I was like, I had that one win, like that, and I was like, I'll take it. But that song is very powerful if you know it. Like, it's something about the basicness of it, the very simple rhythm, but it's very joyous and like super happy. And it hooked. It's a powerful song. It hooked a bunch of people that had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
But what happened right after that? They're like, all right, can we play? Like, people started asking for like club stuff, and I said, you know what? I had a contingency plan. I had a laptop. I'm like, here you go. And I just left. And then they just started like DJing with the laptop. And I left. I literally came back the next day.
And you're like, I told you so. Yeah, you immediately go to the bride.
Well, they were like, you're good. You should just go home. I'm like, yeah, I'm done here. So that's the only wedding I'll ever do.
Yeah. That's wild. Oh, man. Okay. So do you think this is going to be kind of an existential question? See if it inspires anything within you. Do you think music shapes who we are, or reflects who we already are?
I think it shapes who we are.
Yeah.
Like, if I didn't find any of this stuff, I think I'd be a completely different person. Yeah. Not at my core. Like, who I am is like how I see the world, or how I like talk to people, or how my whole behavior I think would necessarily change. But I think there's a lot of aspects to my character and development that would be way different. Like, if I didn't find Nirvana or Sonic Youth, those two early gateways, I might have just become like a sports guy, sports focused, like, because like everyone else around me where I grew up,
Yeah.
Long Island was like sports crazy. New York is sports crazy.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have met your wife.
No, I don't think so. So yeah, I think it shapes who you are, right? Yeah.
Excellent. So if someone was going to do a biopic of you, like if someone was going to do like a snapshot of your life, what would the theme song be?
Oh man, I'm really bad at thinking on the spot. Well Respected Man by the Kinks, maybe.
Okay. If you were trapped on a desert island, or maybe you're going to a desert island, and you could only take one record with you, it's the only record you could listen to for the rest of your life, what would it be?
The Singing Nun.
Really? Why? Because your parents?
That's my first experience. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I wouldn't do it. No, I'd take none. I'd rather just listen to nothing. If I can't have them all, I don't want to hear anything.
It's like I'm going all silence.
Hey,
Um,
silence can be nice too.
if you could have dinner with any musician,
Oh
living or
no,
dead, who would it be, and what would you ask them?
I hate this question. What's your? I'd like to ask you this question. Do you have an answer to this one?
Oh, I'd have to think about it. I mean, you can think about it for a little bit.
Oh,
Let me
I
think
mean, I'll
about
come
it.
up with something, but I never really. I know. See, one thing I will say is I never really looked at musicians, famous or not, as like anything other than just people that make music. So
Yeah.
I'm not interested in them as people.
Oh, really?
Every now and then there's some interesting characters, of course. Like I'm doing a bunch of listening to Moondog right now because I'm trying to put together a Moondog video. He would be really interesting to talk to
Yeah.
because he was blind and he he had to see the world that way and he made music that way and he invented instruments, and it would be really interesting to see how a blind person, the way that they have to navigate the world, and not only that but the way that they hear music. Like they hear music in a lot more intensified way, I would think, because they're blind and they've relied so much on their hearing and their ability to hear and decipher sound. And what does it mean to cross the street? And like, what do you hear that tells you that it's okay to cross the street? Or
Yeah.
what do you hear in the sky that might tell you what time of day it is? Or, like I think it'd be interesting to talk with someone that hears music in a completely different way. So
Yeah.
I'll say Moondog.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, it's pretty incredible how powerful. I don't know if you ever saw this. You just made me think of it for some reason. I forget the guy's name. He was on one of those game shows like American Idol or something, and he had a condition, right? Like I don't want to mess this up. He had some kind of thing about him, like a learning disability, not a learning like some kind of disability or whatever. And but he was going on there to sing, and you're thinking like, he's not going to be able to, like, he can barely speak. How's he going to sing? And he goes on there and he just has a beautiful voice, and it's just like somehow the music brings it out of him, and it's like, wow, dude, like,
Do you have like a
I
serious like speech disability essentially?
yeah, I think. Oh, his name is Cody. It just popped in my head. Cody something. He was on not American Idol. He was on that show with
The
America's Got Talent. One of those
yeah.
things. Anyway, um, yeah, I did think of an answer for me, but I'm not going to give it right now. We can talk about it later. But I'm not so much interested in the musicians as people. So I mean, sometimes I am, but I always found a big fascination with like the behind the scenes of like how they make videos or how they make albums. Like
Yeah.
when I was really young, I liked Aerosmith, and I found their I don't know if I found it first on DVD or VHS, but or no, it's probably VHS. They did a video, the making a pump, which is
Yeah.
like a video they did of like making that album. And I just remember being really fascinated by that. And I was like, I want more of that. Like, and that's why like I've subscribed to Tape Op now for
Oh yeah. I used to
uh,
subscribe to it.
forever. And it's like, I don't make music. I'm not an engineer, I just like reading what the engineers talk about. I like, and the musicians about like the behind the scenes stuff, the equipment they're using.
Yeah.
I just find it all fascinating to me.
Well, I do love music documentaries, like no matter who it's about. I really enjoy I think I do enjoy like hearing their stories about how they came up. Like, I've watched some of the Billy Joel documentary just because I enjoy seeing like that era of music sort of discussed, and like even if it's someone I don't really care about musically, it's just interesting to see, in a real intense look at sort of like how they do things. The Grateful
Yeah.
Dead documentary that Amazon did was incredible, and I do not like the Dead at all. I've never gotten them. I've tried, but the documentary was amazing. Like everything about that band is amazing except for the music to me. Like the way they toured, it was insane. Like they toured with giant like Mack trucks for amps or for speakers
Yeah.
around Europe, like in the '70s. Like, can you imagine? Like, yeah, just so yeah. I think I do. I think I share that interest of like the behind the scenes of like how something gets made musically. Anyway,
Yeah.
the Metallica documentary is Some Kind of Monster is one of the greatest. You must have
Yeah.
seen that, right?
I don't think so.
Really?
I watched. No, I don't think I did. I mean, I may have. I forget it.
Oh, you'd remember. You have to see it. It's essential.
Some kind of monster. Okay.
Yeah, because it takes them behind the scenes of them making this, where the band, they almost break up, and it really paints them as like douchebags, like rich douchebags, which, whatever, maybe they are, whatever. But the documentary really shows like they're in therapy together, and you see the therapist is like sort of like taking over, and like, there's so much good stuff in this documentary.
Right on. Check it out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting, like band psychology. You're just making me think of a lot of things, and I got to focus it now. I got to like focus it in because I'm trying not to go off on a tangent. I got to resist it.
Yeah. Tangents are fine too. I like tangents, but no,
yeah. I mean, it's amazing to think like all the band psychology things that you just, you have no idea. Like, because when you think about like Rolling Stones, you think about like all these, you think about all these bands that have been together for a very, very long time. There's some bands that it's, their infighting or whatever is very public, like Oasis, very public.
Yeah.
Even Aerosmith, to a large degree, is very public. But then you have other ones, and you wonder, like, what's going on. Like, I remember seeing interviews with REM. I was really fascinated by some of what Michael Stipe had to say. And you think about like all the things some of these bands have been through, and it's like,
the band dramas. I mean, that's a real thing. I mean, you're sharing intimate. You're being very intimate with people that you make music. When you make music together, it's a form of intimacy.
Yeah.
It is. You're sharing a lot. Like, you're putting yourself out there in a big way, and that creates a different dynamic and a different relationship than it does with just people who are friends or partners or romantic partners or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had certainly weird and bad and really good sort of like bandmates and everything. And
you didn't even get into that.
The drama thing totally is real. I mean, I could totally understand how this happens, especially when like there's success. Like, think about how that changes everything.
Yeah, that's one of the things I started to get into with Stunty with because we were talking about Nirvana and Pearl Jam. I'm not going to get into the whole thing again, but he was being really hard on Pearl Jam, and I'm like, dude, if you know what they've been through, like, he was getting things confused. Like, anyway, it doesn't matter. We can get into that some other time. But one subject we didn't touch on is your latest band, Material Objects. So, how did that? Like, where did that fit in? When was the genesis of that in the grand scheme of things?
That was 6 years ago. My friend Trey, who's the drummer in the band, we met. We were like sort of introduced to each other. We might like working together, playing music together, and we hit it off right away, talking about sort of like David Berman had just died, so he was really into Silver Jews as I was, and we realized right away that we were like sort of simpatico from musical taste and just from like the kind of music we wanted to make. And so we met he brought in his a friend of his, Liam, who transitioned to Elsie. She ended up moving to Dublin, and so she's gone, but she's the one that recorded our first 2 EPs with. So all of the bass sound is very signature to her style. And then we have our new friend Matt, or not new friend, but a guy I've known for a while, but he's a great musician, and now he's playing bass in the band, and we have such a great relationship together. We just really just the right type of dynamic, and just it has a lot to do. Like, there's a big thing about being a similar age, and like if you're both parents or not parents, or 2 of us are parents and one of us isn't, but we just have the right dynamic together and the right kind of character. And we did a tour, and we just talked to each other all day for a good week, and we drove out to Chicago to record. And it really makes a big difference having like people that you really want to spend time with. Like to me, that's more important. Hopefully, the music you make together is good, which we all like. We enjoy doing it. We think we're making music that we're proud of. But I'm glad that we like hanging out with each other, because that would make it much harder. There was a band that was in here that I was in like 2 or 3 bands in New York, but I also started one here when I moved up here, and it was a very different thing. Just not people I really would hang out with. They were cool and all, but I didn't really hang out with them outside of being in the band. So now it's not like that. It's just good friendships, and that really makes a big difference.
And this, I'm looking at the early EPs. It was released on Angry Mom Records. Is that related to the store?
Yeah, he does a label. He doesn't release too much on the label these days. He collaborated with Robert Crumb, the great comic artist, illustrator, and sort of indirectly, but he did all the artwork. Crumb did the artwork for like a bunch of his records that he released. There were archival releases of Greek music, of old time sort of like bluegrass music, and old country and Western music, like all this old music from like the 20s and 30s. So he called those the Angry Mom Archives, and he released those with a producer named Chris King, who's one of the foremost 78 record collectors in the, like, out of anybody. He's heavily featured in that book, all about I think it's called "Will Not Pay, Do Not Sell at Any Price." It's all about the 78 collectors, essentially. And this guy Chris King is in that book, and George met him, and George became like the label outlet for his producing these collections of music. So those are what Angry Mom is mostly known for from a label side. And then he would also put out bands locally, which he did a bunch of, including a couple of our records.
Wow. I'm looking at these on Discogs, and I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, you can still get. There's one, the Alexis Zumbas is out of print. That one, Third Man now has the rights to that. But George, the Angry Mom version is the first press, actually. So of that collection, anyway. He's a Greek violinist who made these like really amazing, like stark and dark ballads, like coming from like the 1920s and 30s, I think it was. Really haunting music, really incredibly beautiful. So that was like the bestseller out of all the Angry Mom releases. So much so that he lost the rights, and now Third Man has them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one was that you said?
Alexis Zumbas. It's called "Song for Icarus." Song for Icarus, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay. So he helped you release the early Material Objects.
Yeah, which really was just helping us sell or market it. We paid for everything ourselves and everything, but he supported it and helped us promote it and stuff like that. And yeah, it feels nice. It feels better than just putting it out without a label on it.
Gotcha. And but Crumb was not helping you with your artwork, right? He was just helping.
No. Well, and that's the thing is like it's very indirect. Like Crumb, this guy Chris King has a relationship with Crumb, and Chris King has a relationship with Angry Mom. But those are Crumb images on a few of the releases, or illustrations, I should say, not images. But
okay, so Mark mentioned Ghost World, and I watched that movie. Were some of the record sellers in there?
Well, there's a bunch that's really about weirdo 78 collectors. I don't know if you've met many 78 collectors, but that's a whole nother breed of collectordom that is dark. We'll just say that. They have like their own sort of like set of preferences, we'll say. Obviously they collect 78s, but they don't really care. I mean, I won't speak for anyone, but like the book is really good. It's all about one of the famous label in Grafton, Wisconsin, that Columbia, right? No, I'm forgetting the name of which label it was, but it's all about the 78 industry, and then like 78 collectors as well.
I got you.
It's pretty cool. So yeah, Ghost World was a loose interpretation of those type of people. Like Steve Buscemi plays a blues collector essentially, and yeah, he makes fun of. Yeah, it's old now. That movie is like 25 years old, but there's some 78 stuff in that.
So, sorry,
Paramount was the label I was trying to think of.
Just to kind of wrap up the material object subject, are you kind of doing it for fun and kind of seeing where it takes you? Or you guys want to be real serious and kind of make it? Or
No.
what's the plan?
I mean, we're old. No one wants to hear music from old people. We're too old. I mean, we don't have any illusions. We're just trying to make music we like, and that we find interesting. I think it's going to only get a little more left field, I think. But we now have a cellist, Gabby. She's playing in our band now. She played on 3 tracks on the album, and now she's going to be playing on more, and she's going to be in the band, it looks like. So that's cool. No, I mean, I'd like to do more touring and just see. I mean, it's silly to have expectations,
Yeah.
Especially at this age. When you're young, you feel like you have the energy and the time maybe to do it. But this is the first time I've really, really liked the music I make. And I still don't. I'm not sitting here thinking it's the greatest stuff in the world. I really like what we're doing. I think I'm writing the best songs I've written, but I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that they're so great or anything. I just put my energy into it as best I can and try to be just happy enough with it.
Okay. Well, I mean, we already talked about it once before, but I did listen to In Revision, and I liked it.
Yeah. I'm very proud of it. I really like what we did. I want to push it further. That's the expectations are to keep pushing further and to try to branch out and make stuff that's like a little unexpected, hopefully.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of cello. Like one of my favorite cellists. Well, I like the Hayden sisters. I think and then I like Madigan Shive. She plays the cello.
My friend here is like, you guys should just start making stuff like Cursive. Like, I don't know if you know Cursive from Omaha. I was like, I don't know. I don't know about that necessarily. I can't really do that. But
yeah, it feels weird being emo. There's certain kinds of music that kind of like makes sense when you're younger. That when you get older, it's like I can't really be emo. Like I'm comfortable in life now. I got too much wisdom now. I can't.
Well, there's always whining you can do, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know, but as some recent, no, I'm not going to get into it. I was going to do some shots fired, and there's no reason to do all that.
We can close them out with some shots fired. We can close things out that way.
Well, I want to ask. No, I'm not going to do shots fired. What's the most memorable concert you've ever been to?
Probably seeing Tom Waits the first time. I'm not as much a Tom Waits guy anymore. I mean, I don't really listen to his music. But when I do, it's only the specific ones I like to. But it's nostalgia for me. But the first time I saw him was it was the day after we got married. Actually, it worked out that he was touring right when we were getting married, and so we worked this all out. I was able to get tickets to see him in Akron, Ohio in 2006. And we got married not too far from here, where my wife is from, in Utica. And so the next day, after we basically dissed all the family and left early and drove 5 or 6 hours to Ohio. And I remember at the time, he was one of my, serious, obsessed, I loved everything about his music, and I definitely was a big fanboy, and I was so excited to see him because he rarely toured. He never tours now, but he rarely toured then. And I was supposed to see him in 1999, the last time he toured, and I forget what happened. I just didn't get on getting tickets in New York. But anyway, we drove out there and saw him, and it was pretty emotional, I think, too, because we've just been through so much. Like I had our wedding was a big mess in a lot of ways. It all was good, but like it was a lot of family drama, and so we were just relieved to have that done. And we drove there and saw him, and it was like sweet. Jim Jarmusch and his hot lady friend were like sat next to us, which was pretty cool.
Oh, his hot lady friend. Okay.
Yeah, she looked like Nico. That's all I remember. Might have been his
Wow.
wife at the time. I don't know. But we were just like, how cool is it? Jim Jarmusch just sitting right there. And then the next day we drove to JFK and flew to Italy. So it was kind of an intense couple of days there.
Okay. I guess we don't need to get into why Jim Jarmusch was there.
Well, him and Tom Waits they're like known associates, we'll say.
Okay.
But he was in Akron, Ohio, just like we were.
Right on.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who watch your videos will already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What role would you say music plays in your life today?
I'd say it's a minor role. It's,
Really? Okay.
No, it's too much, I'd say, probably.
I mean, you found a little bit of burnout or what?
No, I don't think so. I know that burnout question has come up. There's definitely times where you need to take a break from absorbing, buying, even listening. Sometimes I think you need breaks. You need to give there's other things I like to do in my life, so I do have other stuff I do that doesn't involve music, but it's what makes every day interesting. I think is potentially finding something. I think what drives me about music is like, there's something out there right now that I'll never hear that I really probably need to hear, and I would absolutely love, but I'm never going to find it. But I can chase it. I can still chase it, and that's what I'm doing. I'm seeking I'm seeking something that I hopefully can find, but I might not. But I'd rather look and hopefully find it.
Absolutely.
I think that haunts me a little bit, honestly. Don't you think? Like the idea that there's something so perfect out there for you to hear, that you might not ever hear.
This is true.
But you won't find it unless you look. So that's why I like taking on as much information as I can from people about music.
Absolutely. Have you ever been to, just out of curiosity, have you ever been to South by Southwest?
No, I always wanted to go. The days where I was working at Warner, that wasn't really something we would do. That's more A&R, it wasn't retail based, so we had no, the label people went, but we didn't go as people who were on the retail end. So no, I never went. I've never been to Austin, so I definitely want to come there.
Never been to Austin. Wow.
Never been to Texas. I don't have the pleasure of being in Texas.
Well, I just think things like South by, and New York has some things like this. They have, what's it called? New Colossus?
Well, there was the CMJ Music Marathon. Do you remember CMJ?
Yeah.
College Music Journal. So I went to 2 or 3 of those festivals. It was similar to what South by Southwest. Well, it was all the different venues had, you had badges, and people, you can get into the venues to see these shows, and it was a lot of fun to go to those and see a bunch of shows. A lot of different stuff happened, but South by Southwest seems like a whole nother sort of ball game, though.
Yeah, all I know is it seems like every year people try to kill it. This is like a big theme in my life. Not that we're going to get into it right now, but like I keep seeing people try to kill things that I love, and I wish they would cut it out.
South by South. So you go every year to that in one way or another?
Well, I wish that I went to South by Southwest before I moved here. I was aware of it, and I didn't go because I wasn't living here, and I thought it'd be a hassle to figure out where to stay and all that. But South by Southwest has been so good, as far as like music discovery, because you get to see all these bands at the like I saw Fontaines DC, their first show in America, Idols, Amyl and the Sniffers, Wolf Alice. Or no, Wolf. I don't know if Wolf Alice was South by Southwest, but Heartworm. My favorite album to come out this year, Heartworms. First saw her at South by Southwest. So you get one of the I don't know if you know Meg Myers, but
Mm-mm.
I
I don't
saw
think I do.
her. I saw her first performance at South by Southwest, and it was just like intense. It was just like insane. And so, like, because you see these artists early, and because I actually pay attention and get their records and follow them throughout the years, you get to see them grow. Like Bully, there's on Sub Pop now.
Yeah.
I saw Bully way, 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 way back. And so you get to see Bully like grow as a band. Um,
Right.
just a lot of experiences like that, and that's something unique you don't really, you rarely get to see
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah. I would certainly be checking stuff out if I was there. Absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, but
and I
certainly.
always thought
Mhm.
I thought that New Colossus was like that up in New York, but that may be
Colossus. I don't
or
know.
is that not what it's called? Hold on, let me look it up.
I'm
I
not
thought that's
sure. If it's something new, it might be something new that's there. I mean, I haven't been there. We left a bunch of years ago now.
yeah. Here we go. I'll put the link in chat. So New Colossus Festival happens March 3rd through 8th, 2026. 6-day festival.
Oh yeah, I don't even know
Mind
about
it,
that.
but that's in like New York proper, so that's like four
Yeah.
hours away. You may not go. But yeah, look at the flyer like later on. It's way I understand it. It's
Oh
it's
wow.
more it's more of a like it's not as many artists as South by Southwest, but it's very much like
Yeah.
undiscovered or new bands.
Okay.
Anyway,
Oh, interesting. Okay,
yeah.
I'll check that out. Yeah.
Um, so we're gonna go with the final question. Oh, no, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
No, I'm good.
Okay, we're gonna go final question, uh, and then you can decide if you want to keep talking after this. But this will be the final official question.
Hmm.
Are there any songs, artists, or albums that you'd recommend to people right now?
Like anything?
Yeah, just like something that maybe you think they may not know, or maybe it's something they will know. Just something you specifically want to recommend.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been listening a ton to this record, Pete Dello and Friends. It's sort of like a sort of baroque pop, folk rock record from the early '70s in the UK. I've been listening to this a ton. I only just discovered that this year from Jonas, another newer person. Actually, he's been making videos like a couple of years. Vinyl Stockholm. I've gotten to be good buddies with him. He's a great dude and great taste. And he's the one we did the Flying Nun videos with recently. Those streams. He turned me onto that record from one of his videos, and I've just been so in love with it. Like one of those records that I just keep listening to. That doesn't happen very often. Um, just I want to hear it like every day. That doesn't happen too often. But
And
it's
this is
dated. This is old music. This isn't, something new,
this is the Into Your Ears album.
Yeah, that's the one album he made. He was in this band called Honey Bus, which had um, some UK hits. They were only really made in the UK, sort of really following in the footsteps of the Beatles. But this album that he made as a one-off solo project is just it's a stunning album. It's like Zombies, really, but I think it's even better than Odyssey and Oracle, honestly.
Okay.
As far as like new music, that's what I really like to sort of like throw something out there that I'm really sort of been captivated with recently. Oh yeah, I really love this Cuneiform Tabs record on West 25th. You might like it, Joel. It's like definitely got a out there dub quality like Adrian Sherwood does. It's on the same label that Cindy Lee's on, which is I love
Yeah.
Cindy Lee too. It's called Age.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been no one's really talking about that one. I think it came out earlier this year. And then one that Stunty turned me on to that people who watch the stream will know, the Arian Churchman and Benedict Drew. The Tree of the Left Hand. What a stunning psychedelic folk, but drone, like a psychedelic drone folk project. So I have to give Stunty the cred on that one. That was a remarkable selection.
Psychedelic drone folk.
Yeah. Tree of the Left Hand. Of course, they're small press. They're hard to get. Like they make a small run and they all sell out. And especially Stunty starts hyping it. That's not helping anything. So,
fucking Stunty, man. That's what I want to get a T-shirt. This is fucking Stunty, man.
I'll buy one of those.
It's fucking.
But I just did a Sound Dome. Oh, I haven't gotten my Sound Dome order, but I did do an order with Forced Exposure, which I haven't done one in about 4 or 5 months. So I just ordered a bunch of new stuff. But I just got it today, so I haven't really got to like look through that stuff. Although, except for the Bitch and Bajas was in that order. I love that band. A synth trio who've been around a bunch of years now. People will know them. You know those guys, Bitch and Bajas?
No.
Yeah, they're on Drag City. So
there is just an absolutely insane amount of music out there, and it is damn near impossible to know it all.
I mean, like I said, I'm still chasing stuff that I don't think I'll ever find. Like I'm looking for that thing that's really going to blow my mind, like all the time. Like I want to have that feeling as much as possible, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it shouldn't be something that happens to you every day, really, or otherwise, you know, maybe you just like things too easily or something like that. But you just chase that feeling as much as possible. At least that's how I feel, you know.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you doing this interview.
Yeah, man.
We'll make this the end.
You,
if you want to keep talking, we can, but we'll make this the.
I probably it's 3. I can't believe we've done 3 hours. It's almost 2 a.m. here, so
yeah,
I'm probably toast.
Yeah, I'm very tired. I was actually going to make my first Forced Exposure order for the store tonight,
right?
I thought because when we were starting earlier, but now I'm too tired. I'm not going to be able to do it. But
there's a lot of. I mean, you really got to listen to stuff. I mean, and you know, you're going to take some chance on something. You really got to listen, and really investigate. You know, it's a lot harder to predict if your customers are going to buy it. It's also going to be something I think you really love yourself, because then you can really champion it, you know.
That's the whole trick, because I did a Midhaven revolver order.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
Oh, you have an account with them too?
Yeah. And of course I'm seeing the cross the cross stuff or whatever. But yeah, I got to do some stuff with Forced Exposure, because there's some stuff that I need to put in, but I'm gonna have to wait for tomorrow. I appreciate you joining me. Everybody check out Dom's channel. I know I've said this a few times already. There's such a wealth of music sharing on his channel going back, in all different kinds of music. He has some videos that are like specific to like certain styles of music, and then you know, he'll do some videos about specific labels.
Yeah.
But yeah, just spend some time. Just go to the video tab. Here, let me share it real quick. There we go. Hey, there's a video. Look at all these videos. 336 videos.
Damn. The one on Woo that shoved. I had it. That's probably the most fun I had making a video.
Wait, which one?
Do you know this band Woo? WOO? There was a year where I was listening to them constantly. Go up a little bit more. Yeah, the one right there. See that? Yeah, that's the one I had the most fun making, probably, of any of them.
Oh, look at this! What are you doing? Coming out of your refrigerator?
Yeah, I just had this idea that I would like place all their records in like different places, and I was like finding them and then I talk about them. Like I did one in a classroom. I did at a grocery store. I put one on a shelf and like pretended to find it in a grocery store. I did all this silly stuff. I don't know why. I was just trying to find a fun way to present the music, because it's very left field, very alien-like, very sort of strange. It's strange music, honestly, but beautiful. It's beautifully strange is the best way to put it. Anyway, so that one, I have all these different sort of setups of me being in different places finding their records and talking about them.
Cool.
Yeah. It's funny to see all these. I've forgotten about so many of them. Different facial hair.
I know you're rocking some of these you're rocking the mustache.
Yeah. Looking like Luigi. Super Mario.
You got some Cure records in this one. Is that the slits? Oh, you got the slits there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. We have a lot of crossover, but I don't spend a lot of my time digging into older. I spend most of the time when I'm digging into newer stuff.
Mm-hmm. This one here with the that right there, the new vinyl in my life, number 17, that record I'm holding.
Yeah.
That's an interesting story, that record. I discovered that whatever year that was, 2 or 3 years ago. It's this Dutch post-punk band that actually has Lee Ronaldo of Sonic Youth in it, like before he's even in Sonic Youth, or maybe when he's just starting to join them. And he's all over that record. And I had never heard about that as such a Sonic Youth guy. A friend of mine here asked me if I knew about it. I was like, what is that? And I had to find it like immediately. And it's really cool. It's super good record, and totally strange that I hadn't heard about it.
Cool. I'll have to check that out because I'm a big Lee Ronaldo fan. I like his solo stuff.
Yeah, that's called Plus Instruments. There's a reissue that I think is pretty easy to find of that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if it makes sense one day for me to do like a deep dive into Dom videos and see like.
Oof, I know it's a lot there. There's the psychedelic series I did. Yeah, those are all long. It's like 10 parts of that. Those are like 40, 45 minute videos each. So it's a lot. I spent a lot of time on this shit.
You got some PJ Harvey showing off here.
Yeah.
Oh, the Fugs. I may actually have that record you're showing there.
The first Fugs album, yeah.
Anyway, we could do this for hours. I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate everyone in chat.
I mean, we'll do this again in like 36 hours or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Not too far.
I got some cool people lined up in the future, some different people, not everyone just in the VC. I kind of, hopefully these videos are achieving their goal. They are for me. Hopefully they are to y'all, of just getting to know people better and talking about their relationship with music.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, just to dig deep into someone's sort of like how they go about orienting themselves around this, and where is it that records sort of entered, you know? I mean, it's always interesting to hear people's perspective. Chris's story was really cool. Like Jason, I would like to hear a part 2 for Jason for sure.
Yeah. If Jason's listening, you gotta chill. You gotta let me steer it a little bit. Jason was going a little too hardcore, obsessed with what chat was saying. Sorry, chat, that we ignore you a little bit during these streams. It's kind of like it's what's necessary in order to get to where we're going.
I saw some comments. There's some good comments in there.
Oh, absolutely. I want to interview Mark Boyd one day. Like, hopefully,
I'm hoping Mark is going to be at FMU. I'd love to meet Mark. He seems like a interesting dude for sure, musically, and I'm sure just as a human.
Absolutely. Well, cool. I'll let you get some sleep. We'll see you at the
VC
Club on Monday.
Thanks for doing this, Joel.
Absolutely. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.